right, welcome everyone to The Draw. I am Crash Mondo Jr. I am joined once again by Flagrant Triggers and Fealty Thoughts. How you guys doing this week? Been rather eventful, hasn't it?
Doing great so far.
This week has been very black pilly for me.
Black pilly. Okay.
For society, yes.
Well, I get that. I get that. I mean, I guess I'm just clown pilled at this moment. Everything just makes me laugh hysterically. Yeah. So, how about we just jump right into it? For anybody who hasn't been paying attention, Kanye West, now known as Ye, has been making several appearances after announcing his run for the presidential race in 2024. First, it was Timcast, and we'll start there, where he lasted for approximately 25 minutes before he stormed off, and the rest of the hour and a half was kind of a cope session with Tim and his crew trying to figure out what went wrong.
I mean,
you have any thoughts?
They tried their best. They didn't know what was gonna happen and stuff. It was very interesting to see that, like, coming off of the whole Adam Crigler exposes Tim Pool's stuff and about like how Tim Pool's controlling and he doesn't let people speak and then this and that, and then here you go, like the first episode back, and you have someone walking off the show because they're not allowed to speak. But really, at the end of the day, was it about him not being allowed to speak or him being a little baby and just can't answer a question? Like, I want to be your president. Just don't ask me a freaking question. If I think you're against me, I'm not going to talk to you. What a ludicrous thing.
Like, I'm not even sure that it was the asking of the question so much as the implication that Tim definitely would not agree with him. Because the moment that he walked off was when Nick Fuentes chimed in with trying to reaffirm Ye's position to say, isn't it though? And for those who don't know what I mean, that a certain race of people are running the world behind the scenes.
Yeah, the whole thing about like Fealty said, running for president, and like at least do the smart thing that some other candidates have done, and don't do interviews or go on shows. Just stay at your house in the basement, and you'll probably do a lot better. Honestly,
our current president won on that.
Yeah. Honestly, to me, I think it's all just a big psyop into the destruction of the Republican Party. Because one of the interesting things that a lot of people forgot about was when Milo first got banned. And he swore up, and he's like, I've been backstabbed. The party's turned on me. They threw me out to dry once they didn't have use for me anymore, which is ironic given Lauren Southern's manifesto.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he also said, I am going to devote the absolute rest of my life to destroying the Republican Party. And then after the Timcast thing, he even said, I wanted to hurt Trump. And that because the whole thing was for Tim. He just wanted to know what happened with the dinner, because it took over the news cycle that when it happened. And whenever he tried to push back, like, I don't think Tim, I think they knew they were going to do it, because if he's that adamant about where he stands, he's going to have something besides, well, because, like, pushing against all Jewish people and assuming that all Jewish people are somehow in this big shadowy cabal and everything, and that are running the world. Like, there are a lot of companies that are ran by people of Jewish faith. That doesn't mean it's a shadow cabal. And letting that get to you, especially when it comes to his money, like they said he owed a bunch of taxes. They cut out a bunch of his contracts. And that's another thing too. Like, is he just trying to get out of contracts he's already in? Like, does he want to be the behind the scenes guy now instead of out in front having to deal with all the crap that comes with some of the shadier characters of elite status?
I don't think so. I honestly, I think really this whole thing, I think you mentioning the Lauren Southern video is so important. I think that it's not getting mentioned really anywhere. I haven't seen anyone bringing up the fact that, like, Lauren called him out. And I mean, she mentioned this guy is a scammer, pretty much, that he was raising money, got over $100,000 of money from people trying to raise funds for like, it was like a
Scholarships.
white privileged fund. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
for like white people that, you know, are down their luck. And that money disappeared. And then he blamed the girl that worked for him. And she, you know, showed the receipts that no, it wasn't her. You know, so I really think this thing is just Ye is getting in touch with these people and they're saying whatever he needs to hear and they're using him. I think that, you know, I was mentioning to you guys that I have a prediction in our private messages over the week, and this is exactly what the prediction is here. With Twitter opening up the doors and bringing voices back from like the ether, there's going to be a lot of downsides to it. And I think that this was the first domino that needed to fall. These are skeletons in the closet that have existed on the non-left for now, you know, years. But they've been in the darkness because they've been banned, they've been, you know, silenced, they've been shut down. And I think what we are seeing with the Ye thing, I think Ye actually wants to run for president. I think he actually wants to, like, at least bring up the topics of things that are happening and have it get, like, to the ears of people. I don't think he's necessarily playing a game, but I think Milo is. I think Milo is, you know, pulling the scam on Ye. I think that him and Nick are telling him whatever they can so that they can get back into the forefront. And then I think we'll start to see really what they're about. Because I really think they're trying to get their foot in the door, where with Ye, here's this big happening that just happens with the whole, you know, Tim Pool stuff and everything to be involved with that. They want to show the right as being insane, crazy. They, you know, now with voices being able to be spoken on things like Twitter, this is what we're going to see. It's going to be a very large, almost civil war within the non-left of voices finally being able to speak again. And the question is going to be, how free speech are you? You know, because now the right can't sit there and be like, no, he shouldn't say what he wants to say. After you've been now saying for what, 6 years, like, there's censorship, stop canceling me, this and that. And now we're going to see, like, oh yeah, guess what? With free speech, there is struggles. And now the free speech is coming back to something like Twitter. Look what happens. Now you get Milo back, you get Nick back, and they're coming into the public forefront. And once they get on Twitter, it's going to be all the darkness coming out, all the skeletons coming back out, all the voices that got shut down into the ether, which in turn made the right look sane, like how Tim always says. The right's looking sane because you've banned all the crazies, all the really, like, the evil people. Now, guess what? They're coming back, you know? And the timing of it, I mean, what, we got 2 years? I mean, 2 years is a lifetime. There's going to be so much I think is going to happen. The right's going to be imploding upon itself because is there really a dedicated leader on the non-left? Well, you know, people may say Trump, but he's been tarnished pretty bad, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Reminds
like, oh, go ahead, Crash.
I was gonna say it reminds me of that meme, where you have two people talking and one guy's saying, "Yeah, I'm all with you guys." So maybe it's I really think I'm a conservative, but that guy scares me. And then it looks back to the guy behind him, and it's like scary. That's Nick Fuentes or Milo Yiannopoulos, and he's saying, "Look at me, brother." It's exactly what I'm thinking. Is they're coming back, and they're going to be the hot topic for a while. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Flagrant. I have other thoughts, but I'll say them.
Well, I don't think Ye is the one being used. I think Nick's being used by Ye and Milo, because Ye said too, like, I put everything on the line for Trump, and I got snubbed, and he threw me under the bus, and he seems like he's being too silly with it, especially after the Alex Jones stuff. It seems like he is trying to create the biggest gasoline fire he can. And again, to me, it feels like they're trying to splinter and fracture the populist movement that's coming up within the Republican Party. And I think it works out way too good. The timing is too coincidental. Trump just announced he didn't know Nick was going to be at the dinner, and there's no way you don't vet the people. But that's kind of questionable too, because everyone's like, if you're a former president, you know exactly who's coming to your house. Like, there are no surprise guests.
Yeah, but so what if he does go there? Like, you know, that's where I'm just like, I'm so confused where people are getting mad that he was there. It's like, yeah, is he a great guy? No. But you know who else Trump met with back in the day? Kim Jong-un. You know? It's like, all right, so how are we balancing this? Oh, he met with Nick Fuentes. Ooh. Like, who cares? He's got to meet with people. You know? This guy showing up with Kanye, all right. So maybe he wanted to have a talk with Kanye. So what does it matter if that guy is there? Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean Trump's making a deal with Nick Fuentes. You know? I don't know. I the guy says crazy things. Like, yeah, but like, I don't think he has any influence really.
So, let me ask you guys this question, and you each answer. Do you think that Ye actually believes that particular conspiracy theory about the Jews?
Yeah.
Say yes. And Flagrant, I was gathering that maybe you don't think he might not. You think he might not believe it. Perhaps it's an elaborate troll.
No,
I've heard both on Twitter from multiple people.
I think it leans more toward the yes side, but that's only because of the people that have presented the positions that they're in to him. Because he said, like, all these people that I've worked with that are in these high-ranking positions, most of them are Jewish. Like, yeah, most people have a religion that they go behind, but you got to think it's somebody who also listens to Farrakhan too, and he's just flat out said, like, I see Ye as more of the type of what is it, the Hebrew Israelites?
Yeah,
The
Black Hebrew.
Yeah, the Black Hebrew
Yeah.
Israelites. I see him more in that camp, but I think he knows, like, I think he knows not all Jewish people are plotting this big conspiracy to run the world or anything, but he definitely is jaded by the amount of people in positions of power that are of the Jewish faith. Like, I think that's just leaned into stuff he's been listening to, especially if he listens to Farrakhan regularly. And then another thing too is they've seriously tried to mess him up. The Harley Pasternak guy, former Canadian Special Forces, who specifically worked in PSYOP stuff, and all the people he's worked with, Brittany Murphy, Amy Winehouse, what's Juno?
Ellen Page.
Yeah.
Elliot.
Yeah. The Page.
Way to go, Fealty. You got us canceled on episode.
Well, third episode. There you go.
Just a side note, what's ironic about that is trans people make this argument, you're trying to deny my existence, when they're actually denying their own existence from how they were born. But anyway, I lean more toward yes, he does believe it, but mostly because he's also dug himself into that rabbit hole.
Well, I mean, is it really on us to say whether he believes it or not? I mean, the fact is he said it. He said it multiple times. It's not like he said it once, you know. There's now multiple times he's saying this claim. Whether he believes it or not, he's now espoused it to, what, millions upon millions of people? You know, at some point, it doesn't matter if he believes it or not. He's pushed it.
He's acting on it for sure.
Yeah. And the organization, you know, is I wouldn't say it's the best organization in the world that he's, you know, making ties to with this belief system. I mean, it sucks that, is there any bit of fact to it? I mean, in some ways, you know, if he was more so saying, you know, Ari Goldstein or Goldfarb in this organization, he screwed me. This guy, Ari, and just so happens these like 10 people that screwed me were of the Jewish, you know, belief, religion, then that's one thing. But yeah, he's going out there and saying all of the people in the world of this one thing. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. You're pushing it. You're saying it. And that's where it is wrong. But I'll bring up my prediction again. This is going to be a big problem on the right. Because is he literally calling for action against them? I don't think so. I don't think he's called for attacks against them yet. He posted a picture, which was enough to get him banned on Twitter, which in and of itself I think was very questionable. But he's not doing calls to action. And that's going to be the big problem on the right. You know, once you start getting someone on the right saying, no, we need to stop that, it's like, oh, but then what happened? 5 years, 6 years, you're saying stop the censorship, stop the canceling, and now look what you're doing.
Well,
I want to bring up something about the Jewish faith, that it's more than just a religion, because it is very ethnocentric. It literally started with a family of one man, 4 women, 2 wives and 2 handmaids, and 12 sons, and then however many daughters we don't know. So anybody who is Jewish, and you can test this genetically. In fact, it's one of the more accurate races that you can find amongst genetic tests. It's, or precise rather. So anybody who is quote unquote Jewish, they may or may not believe in God, the 10 Commandments, reading the Talmud, but they are a descendant of Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to be more precise. But Jacob was the one who was renamed Israel, and is the reason why they are called Israel.
It's kind of like the Genghis Khan gene.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yes,
it's very
exactly.
very easy to trace back to an origin.
Yeah, but that's what, with the Black Hebrew Israelites, I mean, what they're claiming is that they are the original, people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, in and of itself, it's like, all right. I mean, if you want to believe that, that's fine. I'm definitely not saying they're wrong, because I have no freaking clue. I'm not, a biologist. And like you say, if you can prove it back to like one family, pretty much, or 3, they could do their DNA tests if they want to. So like, have at it. But at the same time, I'm just saying, I mean, what does any of that matter? It doesn't matter if someone is or isn't. It's just a matter of like, this all comes down to free speech. Everyone, I think it would be silly to get caught up on anything other than the fact that this is the first test in what's going to be, I think, a very tumultuous 2 years. And not tumultuous between left and right. It's going to be right versus right. Because there's so many people that are considered right now that, technically are lefties, but since they didn't go along with the far left, are no longer left. So this is going to be a war between the right and the right, and the centrists, I don't think, are going to really be able to do much when it comes down to this, because you're about to have the far right, who is angry as heck, and they've had to live on, Parler, Gab, all these other options, and they've gone through so much. And they have this righteous indignation at this point where it's like they feel like they've proved themselves. They went through the darkness. Did you? Did you leave Twitter? Did you get canceled? Were you, speaking up and trying to fight back? I don't think so. And that group of people are now coming back in droves to Twitter. Like literally on Twitter, it looks like Parler looked. Many times I'm scrolling through a lot of the accounts I've been following. And I remember when I went on to Parler, it was dark. There's a lot of anger there. So with what's happening with the Kanye thing, I don't look at it really as, oh, this is the thing Kanye, Milo, and Nick did, with Tim. Whether or not it was a planned thing or not, are they trying to get themselves into the limelight? It's just going to come down to free speech. Is he allowed to say these things about this group of people? Is he saying anything that's wrong about this group of people legally? And that's a gray area that I think could demolish a lot of the groundwork that's been built.
Well, the free speech, like I still think it's better to have those people on and having them saying their crazy shit. Because now look at how many people who were all like big Ye fans, and now they're like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, and overall, I think that is better for everyone to have people who can say their dumb shit as long as they're not threatening someone, doxing someone, the basic legal parameters. Like it's like what the left kept saying about Twitter. It's a private platform. If you don't like it, go build your own. Well, now the tables are turned, and now they want to cry about it. And that's another thing about the right too. They're falling for the logical trap. They're letting people paint the whole side, like Kanye and Milo and Nick and whatever other extremely crazy idea person you have, when they've always said like one person doesn't define that whole group.
That right
And
there, they need to live by that and stop
yes, like
worrying about it so much. They're really turned into, they're just whiny little punks about what somebody said. And it's like, you don't owe anybody a denouncement for something you never bought into. That's what I've told people. I don't owe you a denouncement for something I've never believed. So stop asking me to denounce something I know nothing about.
Yeah. I mean, we're not coming here on this episode being like, we do not stand with Kanye or Ye, you know, because it doesn't
Right.
need to even be said. It's kind of like, yeah, he said that thing. He's not me. I'm pretty sure, you know, wallet-wise, we are definitely living two totally different lives, you know. So, yeah, it's... but...
Another thing I want
Yeah.
to bring up about the far right coming back was it wasn't just that they were pushed off to other social media platforms. Some of them experienced some real harsh realities. Nick Fuentes got debanked. I mean, I don't really like the guy, but he had struggles with six figures just getting locked up by banks saying we're closing your account, but then like they wouldn't even give him access to it. I couldn't even imagine having to deal with that.
yeah, that,
And I know that he's not the only one. And then other sources of income, Patreon giving the boot to a ton of people. You know, those were like regular sources of income. And then of course
Yeah.
YouTube.
well that
Yeah, but that's,
where the,
you know, that comes with it, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With the Twitter thing, that's the righteous indignation. You see what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
like these people
Yeah.
experience something legitimately wrong. But at the same time, that doesn't mean everything that they think and everything they say is also legitimately right. And you're about to get a lot of people that are coming back into the limelight that have legitimate grievances that were never addressed. And there's going to be an ebb and flow to it because there are a lot of people that are on the non-left that never had anything happen to them and have survived these last 4 or so years perfectly fine and done well from it, like Tim Pool,
Mhm.
you know? And what are we seeing with Tim Pool? I mean, there's a darkness around Tim Pool right now. And I mean, is some of it warranted? Sure. I mean, we talked about Tim Pool Adams stuff last week. And is some of it warranted? Sure. Do I think there's things Adam said that, you know, over the week now of watching things happening, was there some foundation there that I think, yeah, could be true? Yeah, I do think Tim could possibly be an a-hole behind the scenes. He could yell at people. You know, his sister Lisa made a video. You got Ben going on Karlin Borisenko's stream. Oh, he said the name. She will show up now. Watch out, people in the chat.
your
call
Twitter
her
Twitter
doctor.
page is under attack.
Oh god, she already blocked me, mind you. She was when her and Chrissy had the whole thing going on Twitter. Like I was responding, and she blocked me like instantly. Which is fine, Carlin. I didn't want to talk to you anyway. Fine, but like really, like you know, after watching all that stuff, I mean, there is a darkness surrounding Tim that I have not seen over the years. I mean, there's always been an undertone of people that are like, I hate Tim, I can't stand him. But he always has a utility. I mean, there's a necessity to a Tim Pool. He does do a very good job of reading the news and parsing through all of that and calling out what's real and what isn't, and then comparing it to his wealth of knowledge of news over the years to show, like, oh, when they're talking about this thing with the vaccine, like, well, look at these stories over the past, like, 40 years about this thing. And then he will show you like, well, this news thing said this and they said this. So there's a necessity there because if you've got 20 minutes, he's going to give you all the information you can get on that one topic in those 20 minutes. And he does a very good job at it. So even if he is kind of like an a-hole and he is doing bad stuff, there is that necessity to him. So it's like kind of like, I hate to say he gets a pass, but he gets a chance, I guess, make it better. I mean, it's like, I don't really understand what people want. You know, so when I say that there's going to be this civil war kind of on the right, what do people want? Do they want Tim Pool to not exist anymore? Or do they want him to just be a better person? You know, it's like with everything Adam's doing and every stream he goes on and every video he's made in the past week, I mean, it comes up of like, oh, Tim's a bad guy. Oh, he's trying to, you know, convince my wife of things and he's doing this and that. It's like, but what do you want though? Like, are you just venting or is this like a cancel campaign? What is it? You know, it's seeming like the right is just angry and just willing to be angry right now But what do you want, though? Like, do you want him to not exist anymore? Is the things he's done so bad that he should be gone? Like, and then what? Then who's reading the news? You know, who's speaking out on what's happening on the right? Where are we going? We're going Blaze TV? I'm sorry, it's a little bit too much right-wing propaganda for me as a philosopher in practice centrist. You know, where do we go? Is it Crowder? I mean, he's cool, but, you know, you got to parse through an hour's worth of comedy to get to what he's trying to talk about. It's not really news. So it's like, this is where the problem is. There's so much anger. There's so much indignation. There's so much just like pent up, you did XYZ to me and all these people. And now you're opening up a door and these floodgates are coming. I'm telling you, we haven't seen anything yet. And it's just, I think that we're in for trouble. We're in for trouble.
I think the whole Tim Adam thing really showed that, especially in that section of the industry, like entertainment, news, stuff like that, it's super cutthroat. Like, because even Tim, like, even though Kanye stormed off and stuff, he was still like, he doesn't own anything, but everybody uses everybody, like that, and that's it. And once they stop having a use for you, they'll now it seems like people are more cynical after they've used you for what they can, instead of because I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think Tim and Adam should have talked it. They could have easily talked it out, and I think it's somewhere in the middle. Like, yeah, Tim, I could definitely see him being an asshole, because if you're running a company, you kind of want an asshole at the helm, because you don't want to let somebody just come in and run over everything or miss out on opportunities. But on the flip side, Tim's also pretty open about how he pays overboard for most of the positions, and he did some pretty charitable stuff that Adam's admitted to. Like, so business wise, yeah, I could see Tim being a douche, but I don't, as charitable as he was, I don't see that translating into many personal friendship relationships. Like, he's definitely opinionated. He's definitely
honestly I was gonna say the charitableness. I wonder if that's kind of a compensation factor, you know.
But
to
doesn't
kind
that
of make up?
doesn't that lean into self-awareness though? Even if he knows he's doing it out of charity, he's like, yeah, man, I'm kind of a jerk. Maybe I should do something to kind of make up for that.
Nah, I think it's more so. I think the dude, I mean, he knows what it feels like to be poor. I do think he does have, like, if you watch the Carlin video where she's interviewing Ben from the Cast Castle, which really anyone did, I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but yeah, so Ben was on there. It's such a worthwhile watch. Anyone watching this video, watch it, because you'll get to see Carlin be cut off, like, constantly. Just, it's so funny. I was more so like, what Ben was mentioning was enthralling and interesting, but just watching her facial reactions to getting cut off over and over again, and then trying to cut in to ask questions of Ben, while Ben is just disregarding every word she's saying and just talking. It's so good. But
all right, I'm bookmarking that for later.
oh, dude, yeah, it's so worth it. It's like 2 hours, but like I caught like maybe 40 minutes of it, and it was so worth it. Oh, so good. But like, so things that Ben were mentioning was the fact that right now, Tim Pool is financially kind of like stuck to IRL. If IRL doesn't exist, that's where the massive amount of his money comes from, because I mean, he's getting super chats the entire stream. And that's just like straight money. I mean, minus 30% cut to YouTube, but that's straight money. I mean, compared to his other channels where he's probably relying on ads and stuff that are probably getting demonetized or half monetized or just blocked. And, you know, that it's not a definitive money source, whereas the IRL thing, yeah. That's why it's like, with everything happening too, I think of it like I said last week, I look at him more as a CEO now. So when he's looking at IRL, he's trying to protect his brand to keep it stable, you know, so that the viewer knows what to expect from this product. They're knowing, I'm coming here, we're going to get the news, we're going to get people talking about the news, and that's what I'm here for. Even though Tim does the same exact thing during the day, this is the way he can do it, and he has money coming in through super chats. And clearly, he has a fan base of, you know, what, on average 40,000 live viewers on average. You know,
Alright.
if he has a big show, he goes upwards of 100,000, like on the Yay episode. But on average, like 40,000 live viewers. And then when it gets uploaded later, there's more. But they're donating viewers. So, really, golly, it's all messed up, man. It's really just all messed up.
Yeah, that's why I've been blackpilled over it, because there's so much other stuff that deserves coverage than Kanye West, like the China stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see the video where the state police were taking heavy machinery equipment and flipping over the farmers in their tractors in the Netherlands?
Where? Oh, in the Netherlands?
Yeah, they were literally taking bulldozers and just flipping the entire tractor up on its side with the farmer still in it. Like
Wow.
there's so much other stuff. Like to me, this is one of the biggest psyop distractions that cuts so hard into the right and what they've slowly been going the speed limit at.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, what is the power structure on the non-left anymore? So we don't have Trump yet. Trump, yes, he says he's running, but you know, the non-left you got Trump, you've got DeSantis, you've got other players in the field this time. And then on top of that, from the entertainment side of the non-left, you've got infighting across the board. I mean, the Lauren Southern thing just happened in July. That was July of this year. That's not
That
that
was just
long
July?
ago.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it was just July. It feels
2022
like
has been
maybe
a
it was
long year.
2 years ago, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's only like less than half a year, pretty much. And then on top of that, then you got the Adam Tim debacle. Now you've got the Yay Milo Nick debacle with Trump. You know, they really. It's kind of like, I look at it like kind of like Game of Thrones, and the non-left is starting to vie for who's going to be the power structure again. Because if you compare it to Lauren Southern's thing, I mean, that is a story about the lead up to kind of 2016. And that whole time period around 2016 of when Trump is running, you've got this dissident right that's trying to speak up, and they're getting just like demolished by this whole cancel culture. But then behind the scenes, you start realizing, whoa, this thing is messed up beyond belief. The people who are at the power structures of, like, you know, this whole thing, like that Tommy guy, and then you've got Milo, and then you got Nick, you've got, you know, and all the people tertiary to them, and it was messed up, and they were the big names. I mean, of course, you had Carl Benjamin, you had other people at that time, Paul Joseph Watson, then you find out, oh, wow, this guy isn't a good guy. So you think about that whole time period, who was good at that time? Who's clean after that time?
Who's
Like, really? No one. No one's clean. Maybe Brandon Straka from Walkaway?
Yeah,
I can't really
they
think of
railed
too much
him
about him.
so hard. They did
Yeah.
they did him super dirty.
So it's like, really, think about now. What do we have? What is the power structure on the non-left right now? Who's the entertainment structure, the voice amplifiers? It's like Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, maybe the Daily Wire. But even the Daily Wire, the non-left, I mean, you got to remember, there's centrists there's leftists in the non-left. And do they really necessarily want to go to the Daily Wire? I don't know. You know, there's a saturation level that is on the non-right, and I think it is saturated to the people who are going to be supporting of any one entity. And there's not really, there's a ceiling there. So it's like, with this civil war happening right now, who's going to be the power structure of the voice of the non-left? It's going to get dark. And that's what I really think is happening with the Milo thing. I think Ye believes the things he's saying because the people he's talking to is convincing him of the things that he's saying. But at the same time, is he really calling for any action? I don't know. I don't see that happening yet. I mean, bringing up the topics in and of itself is kind of just like, why you gotta say those things? That's pretty messed up, man. But is he calling for action? I don't know. But at some point, there will be calls to action. If these people can accumulate the eyes and the ears of enough people over the coming months or so, and solidifying their place in the new non-left kind of like entertainment space, the foundations of it, kind of like how Tommy, Paul Joseph Watson, and all the people were that Lauren brought up back in the day, it could be really, it's gonna be bad. But it's really, who is there? Who do we got right now? Who are the main names?
Yeah, well, I think this really helps out the establishment and the elites a whole lot. Because I mean, who's the only the right and the populists on the right were actually pushing against the machine. Like even the
Yeah.
leftists who were more populist, they still just walk in lockstep. They speak about it behind closed doors to where they can't get their image tarnished. But
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna get dude. I was talking to Chrissy about this a long time ago, about my conspiracy theory about where things are going, and like this is like the first domino in that. It's like, okay, now you've isolated the populace who are keeping the machine from just running amok. So what's next? Once you've got them isolated, it's gonna be like Weimar. You got them isolated. Oh, look at these people. They're less than us. They're subhuman. And I don't know. To me that's where it's going, because I think I think that in the more libertarian and independent minded side of the right and the middle are like that's the only defense from the one world government, the new world order. And because you look everywhere else, everything's pretty much buttoned down. I mean, look what's happening in China, man. Like that stuff needs to be news. Like I've been
Yes.
seeing this crap all week, and it's just like, dude, I don't care about this stuff. There are more important things. Some of it's kind of entertaining, but a lot of it is fluff. Like the news isn't news anymore. It's just about attention spans.
Well, because it's a battle right now. It's the dance of who's gonna be the who. Who's gonna be the person? Who's gonna be the people right now? People don't know. There's no definitive power structure right now, and it's a dangerous spot.
Yeah,
Because whoever wins the eyes and ears, can really depict a direction for the next 2 years, which is going to be a lifetime. And it's worrisome a little bit that, we're seeing the names like Milo Yiannopoulos coming back, and Nick, whatever his last name is. I don't know.
Fuentes.
Fuentes, yeah.
I really never watched him that much. I never got into he's like the MGTOW guy. Never really got into that too much. But
More like
I
incel, not really MGTOW.
yeah, okay. Oh yeah. I can see how the incel in nature.
Like MGTOWs
But-
are voluntarily celibate versus incel.
Yeah.
It's you want it but can't.
Yeah, but with MGTOW though, the one thing they like being dicks to girls. That's where they lose me. It's one thing to be like, you know what, I'm going my own way and thing. But then to be dicks to girls, that's where you lose me. It's like you don't need to do that. It's not, don't like mentally bash people because you're upset about how things go. Work on yourself, go your own way, make yourself the best you can be. But then at the end of that, you still have to be loving and caring. Hello. It's called being a good person. That's, chivalry should be a thing in a way. But yeah, that's where they lose me. But I'll ask again, like, who do you guys think is the power structure right now? Do you think it is Tim Pool, or do you think there is like really, like, who is our modern day Tommy, whatever his name is, Nick Fuentes, Milo Yiannopoulos, Brandon Straka, Lauren Southern, like, Alex Jones? Who is that right now?
I mean,
Also, if you're
your top
watching, let us
candidate-
know in the comments on this too. Who do you think the power structure is?
And while you're thinking
we're-
about it, while you're thinking
we're
about
here,
hit like,
I'll give you guys a second to think. I want to give a shout out to Eric Staples commenting on the last video. Great chatting with you. Miscellaneous Debris, thank you for commenting. I enjoyed the chat we had. And Chris jumping in the chat with us both as well. Thank you. Max Uzumaki, arigato gozaimashita. Thank you. Thank you for the chat. Nasty Pig and Dex Star. Thank you all for the comments on the last video. Enjoy chatting with you. We'll do it again this time. Let us know in the chat there your thoughts.
Yeah, and
also be sure hit the Rumble Plussy and subscribe.
Yeah, smash the plussy.
And
Smash.
that's one thing I'm going to work on too, is this week. Like last week was just a hell week for me, guys. I'm sorry. It's just got a lot of stuff going on at home. But yeah, I'm definitely going to get start doing some more interaction with the commenters and stuff, because well, you guys are going to help us grow, so we appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. So who's your guys right now? If you had to pick what your entertainment side power structure is right now, who's your picks right now?
Right now, the top influencers for me are Crowder, Tim Pool, Jimmy Dore, and Rogan sometimes. But Rogan's more like the interview style guy. I think he's a populist for sure. He leans left on a lot of stuff too, though, that I don't agree with. But
I think you just had 3 leftists.
well,
Jimmy Dore, Tim Pool,
Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, these 3 people are not right wingers. You know, they're
Yeah.
right insofar as the left says that they're right. You know, and then Crowder, who I would say he's conservative. So,
well, I guess
isn't that fascinating though?
well, yeah, but those are the only people that are actually speaking, like they pretty much stick to their guns and they expose both sides pretty fairly. It's just the left is doing more crazy shit that's been brought to light the past few years.
Yeah, but look what you just said. You just said the left's doing too much crazy stuff, right? But you just listed 3 leftists and a right winger as your power structure for the non-left. What does that say to you?
Well,
Is the right in power? If in
that's
your
why I
power
was
modern
that's
day
why I was
power
curious.
structure,
I've been thinking about, like, what do you mean by power structure? The right has no power. The left has all the power in institutions. They don't have to do anything because they can just
Yeah.
influence everything at the snap of a finger. You know, kind of like a certain company.
yeah. So I mean, really, that was the best answer I think we could have had for that. But Krish, who's your power structure right now for the non-left?
I mean, are you basically asking who do I spend most of my time listening to as far that?
No, I mean like more
'Cause-
so public wise, like the society at large, even worldwide, if you want. Who would you say is your non-left power system?
I would say Crowder's up there, and Tim Pool. I honestly don't listen to too much Jimmy Dore. I've heard he's great, but I just never got around to listening to him. Joe Rogan also. Definitely Rogan's, I would consider a power influencer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think this is a good poll. I mean, really, you look at that, and I'm not hearing a list of right wingers, as it were. I'm hearing, centrists, and left wing. And I find it very fascinating that, like I said, this is why my prediction, I think, will stand, and it will show. Sadly, I think it will show to be true. Because now with the floodgates opening up on Twitter, I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be great. Finally bringing back a little bit more free speech. I think that's something we need. Because when a bad thing happens, like the New York Post article, it's not going to be easily silenced when you're supporting something more free speech-esque. But I think that the right has a big wake-up call. Because look at 2 power structures that were mentioned here. They're not right-wingers. These aren't even predominantly conservatives. These aren't people who will probably agree with 80% of what an average conservative really wants. They may be close to the viewpoints and be willing to have a debate and a compromise, which is nice, but these aren't right wingers. So I think with what's coming, I think that the modern day power structure that we're mentioning here is going to have a very large wake-up call, because as the voices come back, or the voices that have only existed on Parler and Gab for the last 2 or so years or more is now going to come back into the forefront, and the modern day power structure of the non-left is going to finally be confronted with what an alternative power structure would be to what we're seeing as centrists and leftists mostly. Because these aren't 2 are the same thing. And what's coming is angry. What's coming is coming with the mindset of, I went through all of this and you didn't. because they are different people. They are different power groups. And like, I don't think that there's a power structure to bring these two sides together. I don't think Trump's got it. Sad to say, like, I'm not trying to be here and be a Trump denier, but with everything Trump's been doing, it's just talking about how he's been wronged. And that might work for the right that's pissed, but that centrists and leftists, that's not going to work for them. You got to tell them, what do you plan to do?
I don't think I got to push back on it, because I think what really needs to happen is people need to be more active politically. But the key to that, I agree with Tim on this. If Republicans get a ballot harvesting operation going that's 50% as effective as the Democrats has been the past 4 years, they'll always win. So, but I think once that starts, the question for me is... Why are we so
sure that they don't, though? Like, really, at the end of the day, why are we so sure the Republicans don't?
Look at voter day turnout. Voter day is a huge indicator.
Was there anyone that they wanted to get in? I mean, we got to remember that the Republican Party is filled with a lot of rhinos.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot.
But the Republicans won a lot more locally than they have in a long time, and that's pretty big. But you got people like Carrie Lake, and the whole Arizona thing with her and what's her name? The Secretary of State.
Katie Hobbs.
Yeah. So the person who oversees the elections is saying, hey, we need to end this election.
And in that state, would you say that the state level, it's majority Democrat?
No.
So why are we saying that the Republicans have nothing to do with this?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if Republicans get the same kind of ballot harvesting operation going, because I think it's legal in 29 states. And a lot of those are states.
But look what I just pointed out, though. That's a state where there was ballot harvesting. That was a state where there's a lot of shadiness. But who's in power of that state? Same thing with Pennsylvania. Who's in power of that state? Why do these two states have like the worst voting record, yet Republicans are in power of these states? They're the ones making the laws on how you can vote and how voting's allowed. Yet it's Republicans that are in power in these states.
But it doesn't matter what laws you have. It's a matter of how you enforce them.
Well, isn't it illegal in these states to harvest? I'm pretty sure it was legal for them to do that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. But Republicans don't want to. For the majority of people on the right who are Republicans, they'd rather go do it the day of because they think that's what's correct. I'm saying
from the state level, though. Like, so when you talk about like the actual state Senate, the ones deciding on how voting could be done in the state, they're Republican, and they're not sitting there saying, no, we need to change these rules back to something that makes more sense. They're not standing up and fighting.
Well,
I do think that the Republican Party, on a massive amount, is for what's happening because they're not fighting it. And they're in two states, especially Pennsylvania and Arizona.
They're fighting.
We have like the worst situations.
They're
to get Fetterman out.
No. They tried to file a lawsuit after because they tried to sue for the ballot harvesting and the mail-in stuff before the election was over, and the judge was like, well, you've got the merit down, but you don't have any standing because there's been no negative outcome. Nothing has been harmed yet. So they're definitely trying to reform it. But then again, you got to think too, like the state legislatures, they might be mostly Republican. You still have to have a majority vote. Like a few Democrats can completely keep you from getting stuff passed that you want to get passed.
Well, do you need a majority vote or a supermajority?
I'm pretty sure aren't most state legislatures set up like the Senate where you have to have a supermajority vote?
Most, I don't know if this is correct or not. I would expect that the legislatures have some sort of filibuster.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Well, thing. I can't think for it. And that would be where you would need either 60% or 2/3, depending on what's in their constitution, to prevent a filibuster. To pass, it's always a simple majority. Usually an override, so like if the governor going to veto a bill, an override is 2/3, just our Congress or Senate.
Yeah, but this all could
So-
be changed state to state. You know, it's so hard
Well-
to
Yeah,
know
each
what
state's
for
got
sure.
different.
Yeah, it would be
laws
state by
on it.
state, and we'd actually have to check. So I just looked up Pennsylvania. Yeah, they do still have a simple majority. It's 28 to 21. They that's not a. It's close to a. It would be close to a filibuster-proof majority if it's a 60% rule. I haven't found it for Arizona yet.
I mean, I'm just saying it's just where I think the non-left is going wrong is by thinking like that there's far less downsides to the Republican Party. That's mainly what I'm trying to throw out there, is that I do think that a mass majority of the Republican Party at the lower levels of this whole game that we call the Game of Thrones of the country, they're not out for the best reasons as well. And I think a lot of them are part of the swamp. So when we're seeing a lot of these votes and everything, the swamp is throughout all of government. And they're all on the same team. It's them versus us. That's really what it is. So, you know, when we're saying these things, I'm just saying, like, the right's got a tumultuous time coming up for it, because there's two different power structures that are forming. You do have the MAGA types. And that's why I do think that they do try and push that term as a bad term, because really, at the end of the day, what those people are about is just like, look, we need to be able to work. We need to be able to live our lives. And I do think they believe in liberty. They are more of like the Masonic way of looking at how things should be done, which, you know, some people are scared of that. Other people, not so much. I mean, if you tell me liberty, awesome. I'm all for it. Love it. Love liberty. You know, it's either that or death. You really, if you think about it at the end of the day. But, you know, so it's really, I'm telling you, there's a lot going on here. There's a dance going on, and we're just seeing the start of it. That's why I'm saying that's my prediction. I'm just saying we're seeing the start of it. When I look at your power structures here, you know, extrapolate that to government. Who's the power structure? Is it Trump? Is it DeSantis? Is it Kerry Lake? Is it Laura Loomer? Like MTG? You know, and then look at the left. Who's the power structure there? Nancy's gone. Finally, she's gonna be gone. No more Nancy Pelosi, but we still got Schumer.
Well, I don't think you need a specific power figure on the left because it's so hive mind. Like, I mean, look at the voting record in Congress. Like the only who was it? Was it Manchin? He was the only one who voted against out of Democratic favor in the Senate.
Yeah, but that could have been because he wanted to get some money under the table. So he was
Yeah,
like, "Hey, I've got this chance to be the deciding vote." Like, yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting question. I want to go back to this legislature control in these two states. I never even thought about that. That means that it was Republicans that passed these mail-in ballot laws.
In Pennsylvania, yes,
that allowed it.
The establishment Republicans did pass the mail-in voting stuff, and
I think it's the same. It has to be the same in Arizona too. Then,
yeah,
well,
they've been Republican ruled since 2009.
And that's anyone watching that state level. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the state governments. You know? They're the ones who make the laws regarding how the votes are cast, and so they're the ones who passed any laws that allowed mail-in voting in the first place, and the parameters around it.
What's interesting?
I mean, granted, there is also, like, you know, in the main places where I think the most troubles are happening, it is in the Democrat-controlled cities, but those cities are at the behest of the state legislature. You know, so even though a mayor's there, the mayor can't go and then choose how voting machines are being, you know, brought in and stuff like that. No, that happens from the state. You know, whereas in Arizona, yeah, you did have the person running who was also in charge of the voting, which I think, I mean, talk about conflict of interest right there. It's like, yeah, you control the voting of your own election. That makes sense. We're not going to bring in anyone else to take charge of this whole thing, you know, and then you get Kerry Lake getting screwed. But, you know.
Another big thing, too, is they're taking advantage of, and you'll know what I'm talking about here, Mr. Philosophy. They're taking advantage
I'm listening.
Of the language in bills, because it doesn't, like, most of the mail-in stuff, it's for people who can't physically get there, they're out of country, they're somewhere where they can't go to their local office. But it doesn't say any like, it doesn't say just because if you live in the state and you live in your county and you are able to get there, Like they totally use COVID against to gain a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And they're using the omission of certain language to take advantage of it. And then you got to think too, a lot of states, their legislature law was overwritten because of the COVID crisis. That
Hmm.
crisis. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of secretaries of state just said, "Hey, you can do this," which wasn't legal at all. But how are you
Hmm.
supposed to fix that when you can't sue when you don't have standing because nothing's impacted the outcome yet? It's my thing is the non-left and the right. They're too reactionary. They need to be proactive and start drawing their lines in the sand instead of trying to toe the line and say, "Hey, come over here with us." Just draw your line in the sand. Like the the whole like gun rights. Democrats keep doing the big ass, doing the big ass, doing the big ass, and Republicans will get, well, we'll give you this. Well, we'll give you this. Well, and eventually it's going to be to where you can't, like, they get everything they want. Like, where's the side on the right or the populist side that's like, no, we want to make machine guns legal again. Eh,
Well, what's the power structure? Like, that's why I bring that up. Like, you can't expect for Second Amendment to be protected, or even First Amendment to be protected, when your current power structure, the first names that come to mind are 3 leftists and 1 conservative. You know, what is, like, there's no non-left actual power structure that is fully conservative right now. You've got many small players. I mean, maybe slightly offensive, Elijah Schaffer, but you know what? Oh, guess what? Yet another one who had some drama recently. You know, he got
mm,
tarnished pretty bad. Oh, so then got Tim Pool. Oh, guess what? He just got tarnished pretty bad. You know, I mean, who's left? I mean, there's things that tarnish even Crowder. I mean, you've got the right wingers and non-leftists that are mad at Crowder for what happened to, like, Owen Benjamin, not gay Jared, even Quarter Black Garrett. There was some drama with that whole fallout. You know, so no one is clean at all. And we're coming into a time period where there needs to be some power structure, and it's not there. It's just a whole bunch of barking at each other, pretty much. And that's why I'm saying my prediction. I think you guys are starting to realize why I think my prediction has so much weight. I think what's coming for the next 2 years is going to be a war on the non. And won't be from the left. It's going to be from each other. Because remember
mm,
last week when I was saying, too, the power structures, the centralizers and everything, they don't need to do to us, like with the CBDCs. They don't need to force upon us. They don't need to do anything to us. They'll get us to do it to each other. They don't
yeah.
need to do anything.
Well, I mean,
Get us to police each other and fight each other.
that's part of the black pill I was talking to Chrissy about. Like, what's happening right now is they're starting to isolate the group on the right that they don't want. And once more lines get drawn on the right side, I think that's when you're going to see the lucrative merger of rhinos and dinos and the establishment to finally get rid of their main opposition in the political system. Like, for me, if Republicans actually do get on the ballot harvesting stuff, and because I wouldn't even try to get rid of it. It's too difficult when you've got too many Democrats and too many key positions, or you just don't have enough of a filibuster-proof majority. Um, but if they actually do get the ballot harvesting going, the left is immediately going to push back against it. They're going to say, "No, look at them. They're trying to fortify elections." But I see that as being the more sensible thing to do. I think that's a better strategy moving forward than just continually trying to get rid of the mail-in voting.
I think they got to get rid of that. I think that,
I do too, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's
yeah.
feasible. I think right now, instead of being reactionary, do what they do. And that's something that, did you guys watch Tim Pool last night?
No, I didn't watch it
Just
last
a
night.
little
Was that
bit. I didn't like 5-10 minutes of it.
Well,
I was
'Cause I was going
editing
back
an
and-
awesome
I was-
thing called Content House. Just saying, stuff's coming. It's gonna be cool. I hope people enjoy it. And if you don't, you'll make me cry. Okay?
well,
Gosh.
his guest brought up something he brought up a good point. Like, people on the right and decent people, like, well, we would never do that. Yes, and that's why you're losing. because you won't play the same game. The left is.
I don't think it works though. You can't. It's like saying I'm playing this RPG game and I want to use like I'm playing Pokemon and I want to use Thunderbolt, but I have a Blastoise out. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't work. Like if you do stuff on the right, the left has all of the media pretty much. I mean, they even own Fox technically. Disney owns Fox, and Disney is not right wing in any way, shape, or form, really.
Yeah,
you know,
not just staying the same is it's not going to do anything. It's better to play their game than it is to try to go against it and still get steamrolled. Like
you gotta win by how you can win cleanly. If the right tries what the left does, it doesn't work for the right. It just doesn't. That's how you get a January 6th.
Well, no, I'm
the
I'm
right
not saying
tried it and found out.
I'm not saying playing dirty. I'm saying they set the parameters for the ballot harvesting, and they use the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Start doing the same thing.
Well, when the left, but you gotta remember when the left does stuff, it's a mostly peaceful protest, even though there's buildings burning behind them. They can do bad things and claim it as okay. When the right does bad, it is only looked at as bad.
Yeah, that's a really good point that I think what Fealty's getting at is
but
the instant that the right engages in this behavior, it will become the worst kind of fraud that you've ever heard of. You know,
it'll be Watergate. If the right was to do any form of ballot,
it'll be it'll be Ballotgate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it doesn't work.
It's still better than just sitting there and doing nothing, though. And that's all they like. What's the alternative?
My alternative is this is why I bring up the power structure. Is the non-left needs a power structure, so it either needs to really start supporting its public sector, and stop picking just like two options, like I'm a Daily Wire person, I'm a Blaze TV person, or I'm an InfoWars person, and actually has to start supporting the whole power structure and bring up multiple kind of entities. And the entities on the non-left also do need to, I think, hopefully, I mean, they will just naturally, because this is going to be where the views are going to come from in the next 2 years, and it'll ramp up for sure. But I do think the non-left has to start speaking up again, because the non-left has been, they've been living their lives again. They got kind of used to let's watch Netflix TV shows and talk crap about it. Let's watch Marvel, Star Wars. Let's talk crap about all these things, when they're forgetting nothing's really been fixed government-wise. Nothing's been fixed, company-wise. I mean, other than maybe Twitter, but it's still a lot to be seen there. But what has really been fixed? YouTube is just as crazy as it always has been. Maybe it's been kind of ramping back and just kind of letting things unfold naturally, and they're not being too blatant with their ramping down of views and all the shenanigans they were doing before. But it's in a lull right now because they don't need it yet. The left doesn't need it because why? Because the right's going to fight each other now. Left doesn't need to play the game anymore in a way.
So I think
they can just sit back and be like, look what they did.
It's a big psyop. The Kanye thing is a big psyop, and it's exactly for that. Ever since because I tried watching the Lex interview, the Lex Friedman one with Ye, and it's just like I couldn't. Like he's being too cartoonish. He's not being serious at all. To me, I don't see that as someone who thinks above anything beyond what their base wants are. And this whole presidential thing, I think it's just a spike to throw into the Republican Party and to keep Trump from standing a chance again.
I mean, does he have a chance? I don't know, though. I'm not trying to bash Trump, people. I voted for him twice, just saying. I will vote for him a third time if he does run. If Trump is the choice, after the primaries and stuff, I will vote for Trump for a third time. Even though he did create the shot that made me lose my job and my lifestyle in New York, because it became mandatory for some reason. But yeah, I would vote for him because he's definitely a better option than the others. But
I think
as of right now,
to me, the only way Trump stands a chance again is if he goes back to 2016 Trump. He was very calm and measured in his announcement. That's not going to work anymore because they are throwing all kinds of spaghetti at the wall right now and they
Well,
don't care
he's got to
what
have
sticks.
a plan. He's got to have something he's gonna do.
He does.
I,
I mean, he laid out what he wanted pretty well, and I think it's a lot of regular people want that. But
I think it seemed to me it was so much more just complaining of the wrongs that were done, and a lot less of like we have a chance. I don't know.
no, what do you mean? You talking about like the 2020 election?
No, I mean now Trump. Like I
Yeah,
haven't gotten a chance to watch like all of his speeches, but like in a lot of speeches, it's just so much about 2020.
Well, his rallies, yeah, but his actual announcement speech that got the huge coverage, he made like a 2-line joke about it, and that was it.
Yeah, but okay, so he made a 2-line joke in one speech, but then you watch every rally and it's kind of like, all right, well, what's his real deal? It's easy for one speech to be like, all right, I'm not going to mention it here, but then all these other times, like, I was just a whiny baby.
Okay, but do you think it was there were absolutely no shenanigans whatsoever?
Oh, I think that the whole system is a shenanigan. Like I said, I think that the left and the right all voted for it. I think both sides are to blame on that kerfuffle.
I mean, I think yeah, because I mean, everybody who's actually paying attention, they know. Like, yes, we get it, dude. What are you gonna do now? Like I said, we need to start getting the right or non-left needs to get their own little ballot harvesting system going. Because
see, that's why I don't like that, because the problem is that that's legal. See, that like I won't say
I agree
that like. Yes, like in 2020, like, you know, the people that want to be like, oh, it was all a sham. I'm like, I won't say that. I think that what was done was legal. When you make bad things legal, then bad things are going to happen. So then if we say like, all right, the right needs to do the bad thing, all you're doing is then saying the bad thing should stay. And then when bad people start utilizing it, now it's bad again. No, the bad is always the bad. You got to get rid of the bad.
Whoa. The bad are already utilizing it. We need good people to utilize it. Like that, it's not just.
I don't agree with that. You can't get to utopia by doing the bad thing.
You can't get to utopia by letting the bad guy run all over you all the time either. Sitting back.
I see this whole thing as the Ring and the guy. What's his face in the Lord of the Rings, and I see Fealty. No. I'm talking about before, and Elrond was like,
Elrond, yeah.
Cast it into the fire.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I will use it.
No, because I don't think
precious.
I don't think the populists must control. I think the populists are much more freedom oriented. So
I don't agree with that. How do we have the Patriot Act?
Government psyops.
By whom?
The establishment.
By the right. Everything that Obama really got away with and then molded was coming from the right. All the rules and new losses of freedom came in under Bush.
It was coming from the establishment.
We could call establishment, but if we don't recognize the fact that, hey, look, there are establishment on the right, because the non-left like to, point out it's always a left. Okay, if you bring up McConnell, they'll be like, yeah, he is a turd. He is not a great guy. But what you don't see is just a general look at it of all of them. But we need to make sure all of them are clean.
But didn't more Democrats vote for the Patriot Act than Republicans?
It doesn't matter. It was under a Republican majority, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Republican majority. And all of them, Republican majority was there until, what, 06?
Yeah, it was. I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
halfway through the second term.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't say it was just all the right either. If if the Democrats had opposed it, it wouldn't have.
Oh, I'm not saying all the right. No, I'm not saying all the right. I do think that. Yeah. Back in the day, the Tea Party, they were saying some pretty cool stuff with like ending the Fed and stuff, and then people call them crazy. It took me years to find out, like, oh, you know what? Those people might not have been so crazy. Like, oh, wait a minute. They were saying end the Fed and stuff. Wait a minute. I like that, but, you start realizing that, like, oh, you've been lied to all these years. So that's what I'm saying. Like, as of right now, when I'm about what, I keep bringing it up, but like, what is the power structure? And when I look at the right, I'm like, okay, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Great. She's awesome. Laura Loomer, awesome. DeSantis doing amazing stuff in Florida. Carrie Lake, if she can get in, that'd be great. You do have some people, but that is not the whole, and it is nowhere near the majority of the party. There's so much more fighting that needs to be done, and so much more pointing out of what do the non-left actually want. So then when we look at the power structure of the entertainment sector, that's where everything you're going to need is going to come from. And
well, you can't change the rules of the game until you win the game, though.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that you have to change the rules before you can win. That's what a rebellion is.
If one particular team is in charge, if the establishment is in charge,
yeah,
you can't change the rules until you get in charge.
No, you have to change the rules before you get in charge.
But
if a power structure exists, it's not going to give you the rules to be able to topple them. But why would they create the rule to be their own downfall?
No, what I'm saying, like with the ballot harvesting thing, how does the non-left change that? When the establishment
you start demanding your local level politicians, and you start calling them out on why are these laws still in exist? Why do they still exist?
What's like the I don't know, because I this day and age I don't see how the non-left wins without coming up with a ballot harvesting scenario.
That would be their quickest downfall. If they did that, I think that would be the biggest destruction. The left would love that. The real left would love that.
I guarantee if the Republicans came out right now and said we're going to put very hard, serious initiative into getting our ballot harvesting operation going so that we can compete with the Democrats their hair would catch on fire and they would be screaming all day because they don't want that, because they know.
They'll wait till election day, and if they lose elections, they will come out with tons of video of people harvesting, and finally the people will see the harvesting. It's just like, earlier today that's
already been out. Like the videos of that stuff it's already out from the Democrat side. Nobody cared.
January
not enough
6th
people
committee
cared.
happened. January 6th committee happened.
What's
even though it was a nothing burger. Don't we have multiple people sitting in jail still that are non-leftists?
But what does that have to do with ballot harvesting?
From plain grandmas? Because when the right does what they think the left does and thinks they can get away with it, the hammer comes down on them.
That's because
it comes down on them. Steve Bannon, look what happened to him.
Well, that's because for January 6th wasn't the same as the riots. January 6th, they went to the representatives' business. They didn't go burn down their own towns or fight the police in their town. They took it to the people who were actually harming them. And
in many ways it was less bad. In many ways it was less bad. It's estimated, $6 million worth of damage. And pretty much the only people that got, well, let's just leave it at that. Pretty much the only people that got, and I'll leave that there because YouTube. But then you look at they stopped counting the damage from the riots at around $3 billion.
Yep.
Not $2 billion, because
it was two? Okay.
$2 billion was the insurance cap. That's all the insurance paid out. So they don't have any estimates beyond that.
Yeah, so imagine what it truly was. I have some information from a company side of a company, of someone I know at a company that has stores across the country. And when I tell you it was across the entire country, multiple times that stores were just completely looted, it's so much more than that. So yeah, these two things weren't the same. But look what happened to left. Who went to jail? You had left-wing politicians going out and saying, make people feel uncomfortable. You had left-wing politicians going out and bailing these people out of jail. So no, that's what I'm saying. When the right does something, the hammer comes down, no matter what it is. Like, yes, you could say, okay, it was the Capitol, and that's why this January 6th committee got so big, because, this is something against the government. Understandable. Definitely understandable. But when you look even past that further, Alex Jones says some words and now owns $2.5 trillion freaking dollars. How? When the right does things that the left does, it doesn't work out for the right, because the left owns the information diaspora centers of everything. So when the right does something, or I'd rather say the non-left, because I don't really think Alex Jones is right-wing. But so when they do something, the hammer comes down, and it comes down viciously. viciously. And then on top of that, the non-left power structures, there is really technically no real power structure there to fight back against what the left is capable of doing. And we already know that the corruption's so thick in government right now, and also in the three-letter organizations who are more than happy to do a bidding of a political viewpoint instead of a country viewpoint. It doesn't work. So the right can't get away with doing a ballot harvest because we, like we're saying, we'd rather try and get the state level to vote these things out so that it can be illegal, so that you can finally actually like defend against it instead of doing it. Because when the right does it, the hammer comes down. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. And it doesn't just come down small, it comes down big. And then they use it as excuses for a year, months. Like it's not something that's just like one day, like, oh yeah, this thing happened. I guarantee, because like we say, the video of the 6th, it goes out there and they only show you the crazy video clips, not the old grandma walking in the front door because she's being let in by cops. No, it's the crazy stuff. It's the guy with the horns and everything, is screaming. And if you compare that to things that happened during the riots, the months and months and months of riots, dudes getting kicked in the face and all these things, it's like night and day. So you can't even compare the two.
What is your big, what's your big complaint about doing the ballot harvesting though? Like it's legal in 29 states. It's not.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you want
there's
them
no evil intent about it. It's just a different way to vote.
Is it though? Or is it a corrupt way to vote that has way too many easy cheating methods that can be used in it? Because if it's just another way to vote and it's technically fine and it's achieving the goal of voting.
You're applying the aspirations of the left to the non-left. Like you're saying that the right and the non-left would only do that to cheat if they lost. And I'm saying it's just playing the game.
I'm not saying that though. Well, I'm saying that inherently that method of voting is fraught with the capability of corruption. It's fraught with it. Whether they do it or not, it is absolutely fraught with it. When mom and dad can say to their children, just fill this thing out, I'm going to bring it in for you. And it's completely legal for them to do that, there's a problem there. Because that's not that person legitimately standing up and saying, this is my thoughts.
And Sonny Hostin admitted to doing that, and nobody cared. And they're going to keep but they're going to keep
doing it. And if
Alex
Jones did, what would have happened?
At least then,
the dude would have been hit with another $2 trillion of a lawsuit.
But at least then the left would have caught their hair on fire and said, okay, maybe we need to do something different.
Why? Did they do anything different after January 6th? They've got people sitting in jail. They don't fix themselves. The left is not introspective. They don't look at themselves and say, oh,
but they don't want the right playing the same game as them. That's the thing. They want to play the game by their rules.
They don't care. I don't care. They don't care if the right plays their games. They're happy. You play it. Look what they'll do to you.
No.
They'll hit you with the DOJ. They'll have the FBI investigating you. They'll find you in Alaska, even though you're not the right person. They'll go find you in Alaska and say you were at a place, even though you've not been there.
But that's still.
They don't care.
That still doesn't lend any.
None of this solves the problem, though. That's kind of my issue with this is how do we?
You can't win playing a game's fair and square when the other team is not.
I'm not saying play fair and square. Fight to the bitter end to make the voting make sense. Well, sure. If you want to say you have to do a lot to get there, go out and protest. Make My
question is, what do you do when your supposed team is actually in on it? We just looked up that Arizona and Pennsylvania are non-left.
Mm-hmm.
And are the ones who made this legal in those states.
Yeah.
How many other states are like that? Rhinos get talked about all the time, and my response is usually, if you're a lover of freedom, you're the rhino. Because the ones you're calling rhinos, that's par for the course. That's the majority of the Republican Party. The vast majority. So what do you do if you can't clean your own house? That's
what I'm saying.
It has to start there. If you can't clean up your own house, then what hope do you have? It's not going to make a difference, honestly. Like I could honestly care less if the Republicans win when I know that most of them are against me anyway.
Prove my predictions right, man. You're just adding foundation to my prediction that the next 2 years will be a civil war on the non-left. Because there's just so much dirt that's there. And it's been there for a long, long time, far before any of the awakening has been happening, and the red pilling and the black pilling and all the pillings, it's been there for far, far too long, and it's ingrained. And it's not going to get fixed by doing the bad things or going along with what's legally.
Why is ballot harvesting bad? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, why is it bad?
Okay. So, like I said, I
get it. It can be like you can have people who do shady stuff and bring in stuff, but for what it is, why is it worse for the non-left to do the same thing, same ballot harvesting as the left?
Because, like I said, when the non-left,
you can only have so much corruption before it gets exposed.
True, but how big has really any Project Veritas story truly gotten?
Yeah, I mean, they've made documentaries and stuff, but seriously,
but where does it go?
So much
does the
worse
DOJ,
for the non-left to do it?
I'm explaining, if I may. I'm explaining. Does the DOJ then go and investigate, imprison, do anything to any of the people that have been brought up in the Project Veritas videos? How many people have gone to jail from that?
But then, if you get in legal trouble for doing the same thing, you have standing to sue against the other party. Then you have plenty of standings. Yes.
Did Alex Jones have any standing to defend himself in court? He wasn't even able to bring up the things he said on his own show.
That wasn't about voting.
These are all linked together. This is what I'm using as my example of the non-left and the left. The left, they get court trials. They get the ability to sue you for $2.5 trillion because their corruption's in the court systems. It's in the legislatures. Because they're not just left. Like we're saying with Chris here, it is also Republicans. It's both sides.
Okay,
the swamp is throughout.
All you're saying is it'll be bad because they'll still make it work the way they want. You're still not explaining why would it be bad to play the exact same game? Like where's the downside to it as opposed to not
the downside?
Anything?
Here, I'm gonna try and explain because I think I'm on Fealty's side on this one. The downside is that the backlash of the system come hard on you, no matter how legit or legal your system is or whatever you're doing.
Depends on the state.
Look, the non-left is not.
So which states would it be safe to do that in? Do we know? I don't think it'd be Pennsylvania or Arizona. Certainly not Arizona now. Katie Hobbs in charge.
The non-left tried. They had a multi-state court case that they tried to bring to the Supreme Court after the 2020 election, saying that they felt that due to the rules that were in place for voting in other states, it hindered their voice in the vote. And the Supreme Court said, oh, we're not going to hear that. Even though the Supreme Court is what? Mostly conservative, right? And still they were like, well, we're not stepping in on, like, the judiciary should not be stepping in on matters such as this.
Well, yeah, because it still came down to the state legislature stuff that they needed to sort out within their state.
Exactly. But that's why Crash, thank you so much for summing it up. Like, that's really what I'm saying. The left, due to the fact that it's not the left, just the establishment is in everything. So they have the capability of bringing their truth to power because they're the ones in power. The establishment is in power. I mean, what we have right now is establishment versus a non-establishment. We don't have equal footings. It's not equal footings here. So if the right does what the left or the establishment does, the hammer comes down tenfold on them. Whereas the establishment, I mean, look at what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband. Is he going to jail? Look at what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried. Is he going to jail? You know, they can, on all factors and facets of what it means to be establishment, they get away with it because there is no power structure on the non-left that is a uniting factor right now that could really get the voices together to say, hey, we don't want anything of that.
But you're not going to get people to come to your side unless you're exposing more and more and more. Like, people are more likely to get mad.
Yeah, but you're not saying to expose. You're saying to play the game. That's no. We can't divert from that. The original part of this.
Okay, just let me
I'm just
finish.
saying, like, if we can keep to the same topic, though.
I am.
That is quite different. Okay.
I'm getting to it. So
Okay.
people are tired of everything going the way they are. The only
Mhm.
reason the red happened as much as it did this past election cycle is because of all that got pushed out. If you start doing what the Democrats are doing doing it legally, playing the same game legally, and then the system comes down hard on the right and not the left, it just exposes more of the corruption, which pushes more and more people to be like, oh, okay, yeah, we got to get this changed. Because what's the alternative? Do nothing? Hope you can get more people to go to voting areas where they have to wait in line for 12 hours and just end up leaving?
The alternative is you got to mobilize more local levels and fight for your state representatives. At some point, you've got to do what the Tea Party did successfully for at least a time. You know, it's a shame what happened to them. Yeah,
I don't think the
better than nothing. But
I don't think the time window is big enough to make that effective, though. I think there's a very short window, and I think it's going to be the next election cycle. I think after that, if something's not done, nothing's going to get changed for 10 or 12 years.
I don't know about that. I mean, when poop hits the fan and decisions have to be made, I mean, they're so, like, you can't assume, like, in political years, what, 2 years? That's 3 lifetimes. That's 4 lifetimes. This yay stuff is going to be probably done in a week or two. And people are going to move on to the next thing. Because, I mean, right now with the whole Twitter thing, you've got the whole show going on with Matt Taibbi last night. Everyone loving that. You know, there's going to be plenty of things happening. But that's why I say that on the non-left, there's going to be a civil war in a way. I'm going to sound like Tim Pool, civil war. Because there isn't a power structure. So when we are talking about, like, methods of way to do things, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form do nothing. That's a little bit ludicrous to, I think I've talked pretty concisely about what I'm saying you need to do. You need to, you know, go by the law. You need to be starting to demand at the local level.
But you don't want to go by the law that the Democrats are exposing. That's what I don't get. Like, why would you not, if it's still legal? And
he's saying it's a trap. It's a trap.
Yeah.
They want you to
the biggest trap.
buy it. It's a trap.
They'll throw you. They'll do a commission. They'll do a $30 million commission for years.
And then all of the people that are involved on the Democrat side that are doing that, they still will not see a day in jail or even a day in court. Nothing will happen to them. They will proudly put the hammer down on anybody on the non-left doing this while letting their own people do it. It'll be as broad as day. It'll be all over Twitter.
There's been proof.
And then
there's plenty of proof of all this happening. There's been a laptop to prove it. There's been, you know, speeches that people have been given worldwide that prove exactly what they're doing and their mindset and all the things they've done. Like, hey, if you don't do this thing, I'm not giving you the $1 billion. You know, and things that the equivalent of such said things that are proven without a shadow of a doubt to have been done, to have been said. Nothing happens from it, but you get a phone call goes on.
Why does nothing happen?
Look, let me finish. So Trump goes on a phone call. Someone writes down on a piece of paper that he had a quid pro quo, and he gets impeached. You've got another guy on video just plainly saying, I had a quid pro quo. If you don't give me this thing, I'm not going to give you $1 billion freaking dollars. And that was, what, 10 years ago? Maybe more?
2014-ish, I believe. Yeah.
So he was still in his position at this time. Nothing. Crickets. It didn't even come up to the mass populace that it was even said till, what, a few years ago. You know? So when you say the non-left should do the same thing as left, I'm just saying that is not, it won't work. Because right now, the power structure of the corrupt, the establishment, is throughout everything. The 3-letter organizations, your DOJ, your justice system, your legislature, it's through everything. It's through the left wing and the right wing. It's in both of them. It's poisoned the whole bird. So when the people try and say, hey, we want these sensible laws put in place, we want to vote for sensible people who want to actually take care of us, instead of continuing this corruption that we're blatantly seeing, not just a matter of, oh, they're trying to put in bad rules and stuff. No, it's literally quid pro quos happening, like these are bad things. It just doesn't, I'm just saying it doesn't work that way. If the right can get a power structure in place and really start focusing on, all right, who do we want to kind of speak for the right, and then really start to amplify those voices, if that doesn't happen, it's going to be trouble for the non-left.
That's not going to happen anyway. There's not going to be anyone who just clearly unites both sides. Not with, because like you said,
I'm saying the non-left, not both sides, just the non-left.
Yeah, but even then, like I still like. Here's my prediction, and I'll leave it at this. Like, my prediction is that if the non-left doesn't get a similar ballot harvesting system to where they can exploit every seat, as much of the voting block as they can, and utilize it, 2024 will be the end of the right dynamic power structure. That's my prediction. And I'd say 2024 will be the end of the right having some semblance of power in any institutions for probably 10 or 12 years.
Why do you feel like they do now?
Well, at least they gained some power back. They've got Congress right now.
A small majority.
It's
a small majority where when the vast majority of them are already
if they had used the same voting method, like 10% of the ballot harvesting program from the Democrat side, it'd be red all over. And then you'd actually have people in there who would be like, hey, okay, yeah, now we need to get rid of this.
I don't know about that.
I'm not convinced that would happen at all, because even if you had all red, they're not going to remove it. They put it in place. The majority of those people that are in your majority Congress right now are not for you. They are not for you. They don't care about your freedom. They were happy with the Patriot Act. They're happy to have that power to keep you down. We need to stop thinking that that
more and more populists are getting in on the right. That's why McCarthy's seat. That's why they got the thing in for McCarthy's seat. It's like if you don't bring certain things up, we're going to vote you out. Like he had.
But the Tea Party tried to. You had the Tea Party. They gave a best effort. And it took me over a decade.
It's probably the best effort that we've seen in a very long time, and I think will have seen in a very long time.
So that's my prediction. That is my prediction. Okay. If there's not some kind of ballot harvesting initiative set for the non-left, then 2024 is going to be a disaster.
Okay. I mean, I think that will backfire so immensely, and I think we need a fish-headed guy to point out that is a trap, because I think you will, if that is the way it's done in 2024 with Donald J. Trump on the ticket and people voting, I think you will see the largest hearings known to man, where the mass majority of the country is not going to know which way is up.
At least then they'll have legal.
I think you find Trump in jail. At the end of that, I think we will finally see a presidential candidate in behind bars if that's what's done. Yeah.
For starting a simple ballot harvesting initiative.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Even though it's completely legal. Because it shouldn't be legal. See, that's the thing. It's not completely legal because it should be legal.
But
it's completely legal because people want to utilize it for bad things.
That opens up too big of a door on the legal side. Because
the Supreme Court just goes, we don't want to hear it.
Yeah. They already didn't want to hear it 2 years ago. They're not going to hear it in 2 years from now. Not at all. It's the same people.
Yeah, but you got to think then the right will also have, like, the right's not going to let people start getting arrested on the right side or the Republican side.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. What happened to Steve
Bannon?
People
in solitary
what happened
confinement
to
still.
Steele? Like, what was that general's name? He went to jail for how long?
That's only
because is what leads to coping. Flagrant.
No, those people are still in jail because the Democrats have a majority of the power, and there's no one to contest them because they ran a very successful ballot harvesting initiative, and there's no way to compete against it.
And they also control the FBI, who's now looking into a laptop and admit they never even looked into the laptop. And also the FBI, who had more informants on a sting operation against a campaign to kidnap someone of power. But there's more informants than there were actual people down to do the crime. And the people who were down to do the thing only came out because of the informants in the first place. It didn't start from someone trying to do something bad. It was created from an organization. When you look at it, there's just the establishment has the power structure. You can't beat a power structure by going by the rules they have in place. That's there for them.
But this past year, they did exactly what you said. Like, be honest, do it right, get people information. They did that. They still lost. It should have been a huge red wave. They barely won.
How do we really truly know that? I honestly, I'm not with that as a person who practices philosophy. Coping. No, that's not coping.
But you're saying
as a person in the well, then let me finish. If you think I'm coping, let me finish the thought then. So as a person in the practice of philosophy, I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that there's enough people in this country who know everything that's going on and really has a grasp of the level of absolute corruption that is across government of all sides and is across all of our organizations, 3-letter organizations and more, even our banking system, our corporate structure that's 90% owned by BlackRock. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that there is a majority of people in the country that really grasp that that's what it is. I do think that the majority of people in the country do know that there are bad things happening and that something ain't right in Denmark, and they're smelling it. But I don't think they necessarily know, because I do think that the mass majority of people in this country right now go to work, struggle to pay for their bills, struggle to keep food on the table, and they come home. When they come home, maybe they'll put news on once in a while, and then if they do put said news on, they're getting propaganda, usually from the left. The highest likely chance is going to be from the left if they do happen to put it on. Then past that, they go on social media. A lot of these people, maybe they're using Facebook. I do know there are a lot of people that still use Facebook. And up until just recently, if they were using Twitter, what about Instagram? That's also Facebook. So the majority of places they're going to go to will have, for the past maybe 5, 6, 7 years, a propagandist leaning towards the left. So the mass majority of people, there's no way I can say that there should have been a red wave, because I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that I feel that the mass majority of people have any near form of grasp of what reality is. And I don't even think we have as far of a grasp as what reality is, because there's no way for us to really know the behind the scenes of what's going on, what's conversations happening behind the scenes. I do think that we're closer to a reality than what the majority could be. But like I said, so with that, I can't say that there should have been a red wave. I can only say I wish there was.
No, there should have been. You can see that in the voting numbers. Like, Republicans outvoted Democrats by millions.
How can we trust those numbers? How do they make those numbers up?
Well, first of all, like, voting turnout was not even. And then this happens every midterms too. Is like a whole third of the Republican voting bloc didn't even show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that can be said for the Democrats too.
Yeah.
Less than
you look at New York,
and look at how much they maintained.
Yeah. I mean, New York was 9 million people in the 5 boroughs voting for mayor. Well, actually for governor, let's just say, with Hochul and Zeldin. And what showed up? Maybe 2 million people, if that, to vote out of 9.
Yeah, I just don't think people feel that the problems are serious enough to.
Exactly.
Or they don't believe that their vote counts anyway. There's a lot of that sentiment, especially after 20.
I think it's more.
I think it was your first point. I think you're very spot on with that. I just think that I think that a lot of people are struggling a little bit financially, but I do think that a lot of people are getting loans, and banks are handing out money left and right and allowing loan percentages are high, but they're content. That's the problem, is they're content enough to get to the next day. They're getting by. They don't want to have any headaches. So if you start bringing up, we've got to clean this up, we got to do this and that. No, they don't really. There's no reality for them that an existential reality for them to grasp onto to say, wow, this and this and this about this reality is really bad. They just know, food's on the table, kids are going to school. They don't know what their kids are learning at school, and life's going by. That's it.
More the past 2 years have been the worst for middle income families than probably since the 40s. Like
And if
I don't
there's
buy
no
that it's
reality,
but I don't buy that it's people aren't feeling the struggle enough. I mean, there certainly are. Like once people have to ask where food is coming from, yeah, that's going to be a very dark time. But I think you've got
okay,
more
but then
uninformed.
what's the percentage? What's the percentage then?
But well, for me, it's more the uninformed that are just hive minding their vote.
Well,
You got these young
what
people
we're
who are
trying to
borrowing
get to
money who
here,
don't feel
though,
the.
is, but when you say something like, the real reality is that there should have been a red wave, and there were things that happened that made that red wave happen. That's why I say it's like I don't know the real reality. I don't know what the percentages of people that are struggling. I don't know. I would assume that it should be growing with the rate of inflation that's happening compared to the rate of raises, as well as the rate of unemployment. Even though they lie about that number, I would assume that logically that would be stating there's a lot of people struggling. But where are we seeing it? Where are people standing up? Where are people saying like I'm starving? I don't know.
Well, I mean, right now it's probably more just hitting their like fun time money.
Exactly.
More people are just being stuck at home.
Yeah, then they're not going bowling with the family and friends. Which honestly, I think they still have plenty of money to go and do that stuff. I mean, every day I walk my neighborhood, 3 miles a day. I like to do the walk, and I mean the amount of food delivery I see from Uber it's astonishing. It's breathtaking. It's like every other block I'm seeing Uber delivery, and this is expensive. Like I don't look at Uber delivery as an actual like a utility. Because when you order Uber delivery, you're paying, so let's say you order something that's $20. It's going to be about $7, $8 just in the service fees to Uber itself. That's not counting in your tax. So you're paying an extra. Yeah, and then the tip. And it's like you don't, like, at the end of, like, you're paying $7, $8 on a $20 check, and then you want to give a guy a tip. How much can you tip him? Because technically, the check is, what, $27? And so he'd be owed if you do 20%, what, 530?
5 and change, 540. 540.
No, 530. 70 and 70 should not be, about, oh yeah, 540, yeah. So really, like, it's just, I don't think people are necessarily feeling it. And I think that in and of itself is an inflated thing. Because I do think it's because they are getting loans. I think a lot of people are taking out loans. I mean, the sheer amount of electric cars I'm starting to see right now, it's a lot. In my neighborhood alone, I'm seeing electric cars of all branding, not just Teslas showing up. I'm seeing there was one I saw, it was a Cadillac, I think it was. Now I'm seeing some Toyotas. I'm seeing multiple different car companies, electric cars. So these are new. So people are getting loans. They're getting free money.
I think another thing that needs to not be overlooked is the migration that happened. Blue states have gotten the migration that has happened has been primarily reds going to redder states and away from the blue states. Look at what happened to Florida. There's your red wave. It got isolated because they all moved to the same place. Florida, Texas,
or was
Tennessee.
It though? I mean, DeSantis and the Florida Senate did do a lot to make their voting.
Florida has a super majority now, so like they flipped. Some counties that have been blue for a long time. I don't remember.
Miami-Dade.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, look Rubio, at that right there.
I think Rubio, they would have said this was going to be close last election, but this election he trounced all over Demings. Wasn't even close.
But look, you just proved me right.
They have a super majority in the legislature now, and that's kind of. I'm going to bring this up because while people always talk well of DeSantis, he's not great on red flag laws. Ron, please, you have a super majority.
There's a lot to that guy that I think could be questioned.
Yeah, but I'm not going to get too much into that. But that's kind of one of my hot button issues.
Yeah,
I
know we've debated on it once already.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So anyway. Do we want to move on from a black pill to a clown pill yet, or are we still on this?
Well, I think you proved me right. Look at Florida. So when we're saying about what needs to be done in comparison to go along with ballot harvesting or make voting sensible again, look what Florida did. They have a super majority because what? They made voting sensible again. They got rid of a lot of things like ballot harvesting and stuff like that. And then look what happened. They won, swimmingly in places where they would never win. So when we're talking about, okay, what should we do? Well, look at Florida. That's what you should do.
But that's
Don't do what they do.
You can't
make
use
it
Florida
right.
as the basic example because Florida has a supermajority who ended that.
No, they have a supermajority now. They actually didn't have it before this election.
But they still they still had enough red in there to get rid of the ballot harvesting and the voting.
Technically, they should have it. They should technically have it in both Pennsylvania and Arizona, but for whatever reason. So, like, my thought on this is you got to, if the GOP wants to start making gains, they need to start cleaning their house. So that includes like Arizona legislature, Pennsylvania legislature.
You're forgetting history, Crash.
Yeah,
you're forgetting history. You're talking. Look what you're talking about. Pennsylvania.
That's why I'm talking about.
Right?
That's why I'm talking about should be's, because I know that it won't happen.
No, but look at what you're overlooking. Look what you're overlooking. You talk about Pennsylvania and Arizona, historically Republican states, right? We could say, maybe if you count in the cities, no, but like overall, historically, Pennsylvania and Arizona, most likely, Republican. I'm not saying majority, supermajority, but I'd say leaning Republican statewide. When you're talking about Florida, you're talking about this state that historically is the most questionable voting state. I mean, look at 2001.
That's so true. Yeah.
You're talking about the most middle-of-the-road state in the entire country that in pretty much every election leading up to, except this recent one, was always a state looked at of like, we don't know what's about to happen. Let's sit back, eat some popcorn, because usually some craziness happens. And then you go in and you make the voting sensible again, and look at what happened. There was no questions in that state. It was right, and then the populists won. I don't even want to say Republicans. I want to say the populists won in that state. It was on what they had to say about what they wanted to do. It finally became about what you're supposed to do. So that's why I'm saying you can't do what the left does. It doesn't work. But we have a legitimate example in the state in the whole country that has been, pretty unanimously for the past, 20, 30 years, like the worst voting state, wins swimmingly. And not by doing what the left does, by doing what the right should do. Following law and order, working and cleaning
that's
the
only
law and
because
order.
they got rid of it. That's not a good example.
Right, and they did that without a supermajority. So like, why can't you do that in Pennsylvania? Why?
Love
because the
guy.
Republicans you have there.
That's 1 out of 50. That's 2%.
Yeah, well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Y'all are way too optimistic. That if you think that the non-left is going to win,
bro, don't overdose on black pills.
Yeah, man.
I'm not. I'm being realistic. Like, the establishment is not going to let that happen until something happens.
A lot of black pillers tell themselves that every day.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I've made my prediction. I've made my prediction.
All right. I'm gonna force this into a clown pill. Oh. Go ahead.
I was going to ask the chat to fill in their thoughts in the chat really quick. Okay. Let us know. Are you team Cam flagrantly blackpilling the world? Are you team Fealty and Crash? Because technically I'm taking him on my team. He's on my team. I'm just saying. Are you on our team? Just say. All
right. I'm sharing with you. Screenshot.
I want to say though, like, I love the debate though. That was great. That was wonderful. Yeah. I appreciate it so much, because I'm not saying I'm definitely right, and I'm not saying that Flagrant's definitely wrong, which is the same statement. Just saying, no one noticed it though. But I really, that's what this is about. Anyone watching, we're not getting angry at each other. This is the fun of it. This is the best part of it, is the debate and the conversation. Because I don't hold it against Flagrant that he's wrong, even though he's wrong. You
can't win them all.
Well, at this point, Fealty is like 3-0. We got to take him down.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, you need to ballot harvest against the Fealty in the comments. I'm just saying, if Flagrant ballot harvest, it's because he's a part of the establishment. So vote for Fealty on voting.
Okay.
Voting rules.
I have one more counterpoint.
Okay, here we go.
We've all admitted that Tim Pool is very smart at what he does. He knows the system. He knows how it works. And his solution is also that the Republicans need to get on the ballot harvesting train, or they don't stand a chance in 2024. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
So, if Tim Pool jumped off a bridge without his beanie on, would you?
Without his beanie on, yes, so I could get the picture.
He's making a stance if he does it without the beanie, if that comes off the head. You know he means business at that point.
Okay, anyway.
But yeah, down.
All right. So
Tim Pool's wrong. All right, so we're going to move on to another topic here. We have a surprise. I'll just fill people in. Flagrant and I have not seen what we're about to see in coming up portions of what's about to happen. Is there anything else we should... Because there could be some spicy topics here.
It could get spicy. We'll see. So I'm going to do a meme in reverse, okay? So if anybody hasn't seen this guy, his name's Sam Brinton. He identifies as non-binary, they, them pronouns. Obviously, it's a guy in heels and a red female outfit, okay? I don't mind saying that. He is Biden's nuclear waste chief, I believe. And he's in the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I believe he is work is in nuclear waste
management, right?
Waste, yes. He is actually a nuclear engineer. He does have a degree in that. You might ask how I know. Well, it's not just I knew that before anybody knew who he was because I've actually met this guy.
Then he just dropped it. He just dropped the news right there, people. This is why you click like and you get in the comments because you're about to hear and see some stuff that I've been looking forward to for days now because we were informed about some stuff. Go Crash.
All right. So yeah, this guy 11 years ago used to date my ex-wife's gay best friend. That is how I met. So that is how I met him. I'm going to show another picture just to show you how it's going. So this is a meme in reverse. You know that meme where it's how it started, how it's going? This is how it's going. And this video is how it started.
Oh,
play.
snap.
This is an interview from actually 13 years ago, a couple years before I met him. We're just going to play a little bit of it, and then I'll give a synopsis of what's left.
Can you maximize it?
Yeah, do a full screen. Or theater mode might work too. Oh, there you go. Interview with Sam. Samwise Gamgees.
We're here in Idaho Falls, though.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, you're going to have to turn it up. I can't hear it.
Yeah. Oh, you could go into stream volume and raise it.
Yeah. Hold on.
He looks normal there, kinda. Like, he looks like a dude you'd meet at, like, the Magic the Gathering place and play Magic with him, kind of.
Okay, now
Yeah, this is the guy I met. So imagine my shock when I hear he gets hired, and the first picture I see of him was the one in the red outfit.
Oh, so you didn't see, like, the transition to becoming a transition person.
Right, I missed that transition because, obviously, my ex-wife is my ex-wife, and as a part of that, I eventually... cut off ties with any friends that I knew through her, which was her gay best friend and any, relationships that he had with, so I've not been in any touch with any of them in years at this point. So it's
confirmed Crash finagles with leftists. Just saying. This is his skeleton in the closet. Someday Adam Crigler's going to come out and Carlin's going to come out and expose this, but he's coming out now to let you know. He's getting it out before that.
Right. All right, so let's listen in.
We're here in Idaho Falls, though. I truly can't really say where I'm from. I've moved about 22 times in my life, lived on every continent but Antarctica and Australia. 17 different states. Right now, my family lives in Iowa, but I go to college in Kansas. So,
if I can, if you quickly pause. He sounds pretty gay. Just saying.
Yes. He was still a flaming homo back then. Very flamboyant.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Just saying.
No,
I'm just saying,
thought he was great. He was fun, great to talk to. He's very friendly.
I have.
Really? Well, okay.
So a perfect name for him.
What's that?
Matt Gaiman.
Matt Gaiman. He does. Yeah. He is the gay Matt Damon.
Yes, Matt Gaiman. Oh my god.
Instead of what do you think about them apples, he's talking about balls. Just saying. We think about them bowels. Golly. But yeah, if you can, so yeah, explain before we continue watching. So, explain who he generally was as a person at that time, like kinda, so we could watch this and kind of get a feel for it.
Okay, so he was starting to become an LGBT advocate. What this particular interview is about is his experiences with gay conversion therapy. His parents put him through that, and from what it sounds like from him, it was rather horrific, and obviously did not work. Still gay, obviously to this day, and yeah, so he became an advocate, especially on trying to end gay conversion therapy and just generally fighting for LGBT rights.
Okay, so there is a foundation there of, I guess, some could maybe say something reasonable, in the very least. Because, I mean, who knows what his experience was at this conversion place. And at the end of the day, I mean, me being a centrist kind of philosopher, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being gay. To say I'm going to convert you from it, it's kind of like, well, So, yeah, golly. Yeah. So there's something, who knows? Okay.
All right.
So when you were hanging out with him, though, was he like, he wasn't really like flamboyant, like he's like, because he seems kind of like he sounds gay.
Right. What I mean by flamboyant, he just what do you say? So obviously the voice and the way that I guess you could call it a gay accent, kind of, and people I think understand what I mean by that. So he's always talked like that, and I knew that, and I did hear that he was into drag back then, and apparently now he's basically just brought the drag out into public among some other kinks.
But so you never saw, like, he never leaned over and you see a girl's thong sticking out of the pants?
No, every time I met him, he was always dressed like a normal guy. Wow, and the drag was just something he did, like, on the weekends. There was a place in Kansas that he would do his shows at. Okay. Is what I've heard. I've never gone, though my ex-wife was trying to convince me to, we need to go check out his drag show sometime. And I mean, I would have. It's like I considered him a friend, and at least an acquaintance. I would have checked out his show and been friendly, but never got around to it.
So there is an alternate reality somewhere where Crash Mondo is a drag queen.
Hey,
he can dance pretty well.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
That is true. That is true. Okay.
Yes, I have seen firsthand Crash Mondo's dancing skills.
I'm waiting for the meme. See, the closet's like partially open. Waiting for a meme. Like this was Crash's coming out. Like
episode 69 of The Draw. Crash steps out from the closet behind him. Like, hey guys, this is me, and he's in a dress. The real me. Finally, I never got divorced. I'm still with my wife, and we go to the clubs, and I hang out with Sam. Sam is my best friend. We get rid of nuclear waste together and steal ladies' luggages.
Or not the real, or
I want to say something so bad.
Go ahead, do it.
Take us off, third episode. Go for it.
Do it.
Maybe not nuclear waste as much as biological waste.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. Yeah.
That part of the body.
Them balls.
Golly.
That biological stuff.
All right. Let's watch
All right.
this.
I can't wait for the clips to come out from this. This is going to be wild, but okay.
I call it Kansas because the home isn't really the home right now. So,
what's your connection with Idaho?
I have an internship here. I'm interning at Idaho National Labs. I'm a double major in nuclear engineering and vocal music performance with a specialty in opera, but obviously opera doesn't have that many internships, so
I saw that, Fealty.
I'm sorry. I mean, it's
double
just
major.
like just the combination of those majors. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sing the waste away? You know, is he going down to the nuclear waste, going like, let it go, let it go? Like, is that what we're doing? Like, golly, why is it always musicals? You know,
It's always music.
and I am the guy last week who admitted I've been to tons of plays on Broadway. I love me Chicago, 42nd Street. You give me that music, I'm down. But like, golly, oh yeah, I'm just I'm in engineering. Nuclear level, and also I sing. I have a double major in music.
And
Golly,
can somebody in the chat do a golly count for us from Fealty side? This is
Golly
something
or
we
you
were giving
know.
him crap
You
about.
know.
Golly, and
last week.
yes.
I think I'm doing rather good with the this week, but gollies are coming out
It's
more
definitely
often.
it's definitely better this week, I would say.
Yeah, I mean when you lower the the gollies come up. Just saying, they balance each other out. They're almost like election, harvesting.
I'm doing an internship at Idaho National Labs in nuclear fuel cycle modeling.
Wow. And wow, that's pretty amazing. I should say that.
Yeah, he looks proud of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. What is the LGBT community like here in Idaho?
Okay, I can only speak from about 2 months of experience because I've only been here for a little bit. I didn't know there was any, of course. When I first got here, my parents are Southern Baptist missionaries. So it didn't go over well when I talked to my dad for the first time. I didn't even know what the word gay was. I was just kind of confused. And that was the first night that I ended up in the emergency room from my dad. It happened 7 more times. I went through the whole conversion therapy. They told me that every single gay person was killed off at birth and that I was the last one left, so that I needed to get fixed or else, the government would find me.
I'm gonna stop it there for a bit because that was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is I think that the modern day leftists exist because of situations like this.
Yes.
It is a pendulum swinging, and
Yeah, he is living proof of the pendulum swing.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, a person being destroyed at an identity level like that is just, I mean, you destroy that person. You're taking away everything about who they feel they are and whatnot. And it's like, can you blame them from becoming devoid of morals after that? Like, I don't know. I kind of feel bad for that.
Yeah.
We did the whole gambit. I've done the electroshock. I've done... If it's immoral and inhumane, I've probably had it done to me to get me back. I terribly wanted to change because I was really done. My mom found me on my second attempt at suicide, told me that it would all end. All I had to do was just say that I was fixed.
All right, hold on.
Pretty much
Can we
saved
pause
my
that?
life.
So, the person in charge of the nation's nuclear waste management program on a federal level is an admitted suicide attempter. Like, that should raise red flags.
Well, let's say self-deleter, attemptive self-deleter.
Yes.
That's what Flagrant meant, YouTube.
Yes. He tried to Alt F4 a couple times.
Yeah, that's better.
Oh yeah.
Like
I like that as a gamer.
Why? I mean, don't get me wrong, I get it, but even like that would be a separate thing by itself, but then you add in the abuse he went through and all the trauma that he's experienced. Like, you can tell the guy hasn't fully dealt with it. Like, it sucks. I'm willing to bet he's still got a lot of stuff he keeps locked up. Because most people who go through types of abuse like that, that's what they do. They compartmentalize, they pack it up, they stow it in the back. And a lot of people don't ever deal with it. But I don't know, that just seems weird that on a federal level, because he was probably hospitalized, unless they just looked at it and like, oh, you went through this stuff, so we'll let it slide. But I don't know, I would think on a federal level there's a much more stringent background check than that, because you can't get top secret. Well, my buddy, he was in the military, and it's so easy to get your top secret clearance completely devoid. Like they'll yank it from you in a second for saying one thing wrong, sending one message to someone you shouldn't be, talking about anything that happens in your day. And there's supposed to be like a serious mental health evaluation for that too. So yeah,
The mental health evaluation doesn't really show up until SCI clearance.
SCI.
You're talking about when they do the lifestyle polygraphs and things of that nature. That's not until SCI's clearance. Top secret is just the extensive background check, and I'm sure that those records are part of that. I'm saying that the standards in the federal government when it comes to hiring have severely dropped because of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I like saying diversity, inclusion, and equity. I think it's
because of the acronym.
Oh yeah, well, because DEI is actually another phrase for God, and why would we ever call them God?
That's true.
I call it DIE, D-I-E.
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah,
but
I think I just meant in alphabetical order.
Well, yeah. Well, when you knew him, would you say that there was an air of him I guess, reeling from trauma per se?
Not that he put on display, at least the times I was around him. Yeah, he seemed pretty normal, but granted, I didn't know him very closely. He was, the boyfriend
I knew him the closest.
I mean, obviously, I wasn't his boyfriend. It was my ex-wife's gay friend. I promised it. It's like I'm talking on behalf of a friend. Like that wasn't me.
Well, so was it like so how often would you say you saw him then? Like a weekly hangout with all the friends?
No, stuff? I only saw him a few times in person. Actually, it was just at group gatherings in the city where my ex-wife's LGBT friends were when they were all hanging out. He and his boyfriend.
But I'm guessing too, you've heard stories of him then, like because people talk about each other and stuff.
I mean, I knew about this because he talked about this interview, and then I looked it up. So yeah, so he did talk about it. I just didn't get the impression. I guess what I'm saying is I didn't get the impression that he didn't come off as someone who was traumatized. Unless you could say that his flamboyantness was perhaps a bit of overcompensating. The extreme overjoy at talking to anybody and everybody. Perhaps I could see that.
Well, did he sound like a person with a plan of like, I'm going to become somebody known like publicly when he's talking about the interview?
No, there was never anything like of that nature. Like, I think he knew he was going places, but he really took his mission seriously. His mission to stand up for LGBT people, to end conversion therapies, and yeah, fight for things like gay marriage. Because back then there were still several states that had not, including Kansas, where it still wasn't cool. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's not like he's not sounding like. I mean, he sounded like in a way an activist at that time, but at the same time, he's not sounding like a crazy activist. He's sounding like, if you talk to him at that time, yeah, he does have hopes for what he wants to achieve because he did experience bad things. But, the hopes of what he wants to achieve is founded on, like, I went through this bad stuff, and hopefully we can get this bad stuff to stop happening because it was really bad. I mean, electric shock therapy. What the,
Right? Yeah,
this is modern age. I mean, what was that? Probably, like 2007? Is that? Like, it looks like it's a while ago.
Or, so this interview was 2009 or 2008?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not that far off. Like,
you're pretty close.
Early 2000s, like, so you're talking modern age. Yeah, someone like talking about stories that not too far before this talking here. The dude's having electricity sent through his freaking brain as if that's going to do anything. Yeah. It's like, I think we've disproven this one.
Right.
The science of it. So wow, that's actually honestly a shock. I'm expecting to go into this and I'm expecting like this video to be him like, being like a crazy person almost. Because, you're comparing this to like now and the dude's walking around the White House in stiletto heels and stealing luggage from girls and then wearing their clothes.
Then having the guys in dog costume.
Oh yeah, that's
the leather
bondage stuff.
Yeah.
That's because the validation. I almost guarantee he was doing this type of stuff behind closed doors. There was just no incentive to bring it out in the open, and now he's got all the
there was no
in the world.
There was no support structure. If he came out in 2008, let's say, if you came out with someone on a collar and leash, people were gonna laugh at you. Like, people would, even though there's technically nothing wrong with it, it's like people would definitely voice that they feel it's weird. They'd pull like that Frost thing. They'd be like, it's weird, and like walk away.
I mean, I still think the general population thinks, yeah, that's weird. I think it's the loudest, the loudest voice gets the grease, or the squeakiest wheel gets the grease.
Yeah, but nowadays too, there's also a support structure that will say it's not weird, and past that they celebrate it. They put you on covers of magazines and stuff.
I mean, even back then, I think later in this interview he talks about some of that support structure coming together for him. He going to Pride in San Francisco.
All right, so yes, I guess let's play it then. Let's see.
I said it was fixed. But at that point, we were in Iowa. I still honestly believed I was the last one on Earth. I had never seen a gay, we watched PBS, if we could ever watch any TV. I really thought I was alone, and so that meant that I was never going to get to, love anyone. But that's okay, I'll just live a life alone. I got to college in Kansas, and I met the very first, my lesbian mothers, as I like to call them. I nearly screamed when I met her. I couldn't believe that there was another person. Well, it pretty much happened the same way here in Idaho. I've had a few experiences since then, but I got to Idaho National Labs. Well, engineers don't tend to be the most out kind individuals. Makes sense. When I'm back at college, I tone it down a little bit when I get back into the engineering building, because the farmer boy who decided to become a mechanical engineer doesn't tend to like what you're talking about. So I understand. I came here to Idaho Falls. Didn't find anything for the first few weeks. It was terrible. I was missing my only gay friends that existed, I thought, kind of a thing. Then we went, I emailed out someone in INL because they had announced that it was Pride Month. And of course I knew it was Pride Month. Like, I've been ridiculously excited about it, but I was amazed that a governmental lab actually, was announcing it. Emailed the person who had sent out the email saying, oh my goodness, wow, like, someone knows about Pride Month in Idaho, this is great. And she said, of course we know it's Pride Month, and she's like, oh, you poor little intern, and she found me, and she told me about a guy named Mike. Mike told me about Breaking Boundaries. Breaking Boundaries was also doing a float in 2 weeks, and Mike's like, you want to work on a float? I had nothing else to do, so I decided, okay, let's work on a float. I love floats. I love parades. I love anything that has energy and I can be happy about it in it. Worked on it pretty much every single night. It was a great experience. Met a lot of great friends. Started realizing that there were gay people in Idaho and that there were allies, which is even more important. For me, I've always been terrified of telling straight people because you never know how they're going to react. If they're anything like my parents, I don't want them to know, kind of a thing. And so I found all of them. The parade was spectacular. I was floored. We won the best award for the parade, which I was terrified with Idaho that we were gonna have like tomatoes thrown at us or something. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I held the banner in the front. Me and the girl who held it with me made a dance routine for the banner while we were walking along. Like, it was amazing.
And that's when he made it his identity.
We walked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what choice did he have? I mean, listen to what he's saying. Like, I mean, every single step of it, he's saying, well, because I wasn't expecting that in Idaho. Like, his reality of expectation was electric shock to the brain.
Yeah.
Or waking up in a hospital.
Well, I mean it as in he made that define his life instead of what he, like, his accomplishments as an engineer or other things that he did. Like that's where I see it progressing to. Because I mean, look now. Like,
Well, I mean, what a hurdle! Like, all right, I became I became a mechanical. I could see when my mic cuts out this time. So I'm trying to, when I see my mic cuts out, I try and re-say what I think just got cut off. But so I can understand as a mechanical engineer, it's kind of like, oh, what did you do to achieve that? You went to school, you memorized the books, you regurgitated the books. Gee golly. But I overcame my own parents throwing me in like a mental ward equivalent where I got electrocuted to the brain. You know, when I think of the overcoming of something, I'm not going to wear the mechanical engineer on my sleeve as much as I overcame electroshock from the only support structure that anyone ever knows, their family. You know, and like here I am, I'm finally having people who aren't going to throw me into a mental ward and electroshock me. It's like, what choice do you have? It's like, like what we see from the leftist, the LGBTQIA is all self-caused. All of it. It's caused by this. Electroshocking someone in the freaking brain. Like, yeah, they're going to be sane after all of this. They could become a part of society and do well. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Abuse in church was of LGBT children was common. I've heard stories. I grew up Christian in the church all through college.
Catholic
it was something it was something that gets talked about often. In fact, at one point, I'll never forget this. I want to say sophomore or junior year of college, and I'm at this big Christian conference, and somebody says, "Guys, we need to watch how we talk around each other when it comes to gay people." Statistics say that 1 in 5 of you are 1 in 5 are gay. So statistically, you probably got somebody. And I don't know if that was true back then. I don't know. It was still enough. We had hundreds of. I mean, we had hundreds of people in there. So what you need to take away from this is that statistically, for sure, there were people that were struggling with homosexuality and being a Christian in that room. And in fact, I eventually met a couple of my friends who told their own stories of how growing up they were bullied in high school by all of their straight Christian friends who just, thought that they were destined for hell.
Yeah, and
Quite sad.
To be fair, to also add to the other side of that, when you're talking about people of a religion, they are thinking they're saving you from eternity of hellfire. Like you can't say people follow a religion without saying they believe this religion. This is what their reality is. So to them, they think you're going to have eternal suffering. Like the worst thing you could possibly have, an eternity of suffering. And like imagine the love they have for you that they don't want that to happen to you. But that's their reality. And, I'm not here saying that reality doesn't exist or does exist because I don't know, I'm a practitioner of philosophy. I practice it. So I can say, who knows? I do believe a God exists and whatnot, but that's a whole other topic. But so it's really like, it is a pendulum. It's a pendulum. We're seeing the pendulum here. This guy is the pendulum. Like you torture people to the point of you putting electric through them. And then you surprise that they're crazy later on, and then putting people in leather dog suits and like guiding them around on a leash. It's like this is really honestly in many ways this guy is becoming humanized to me in some ways. I don't think he should be the head of squat in the government, but at the same time I'm not shocked that he is this cross-dressing kind of non-binary kind of existential being. Golly.
yeah, I mean, like the only thing that bothers me, but I don't like people who just flaunt it. Like everyone has their own sexuality, everyone has their preferences on everything. It's just I don't know. I'm not big on your sexual identity is the absolute makeup of your being and should be the most important thing. Like, yeah, the dude went through a lot of stuff, like, for sure. It's just, I don't know. I would be more impressed if he made like his mission about making sure it doesn't happen to other kids, um, what he's done to make changes for the community and stuff like that, instead of just being like, look at my good little boys on their leash.
Yeah, but I don't think a person like him has ever really learned to be a leader. I mean, look at it. Look at his story. You know, his parents were in control of him. Look what they did to him. And then after that, the only thing he finds after that is this group of people that are very loving and won't put electricity through his freaking brain. So he just goes along with whatever they're saying, whatever their lifestyle is. And the left has delved into this. It's like a depravity. It's a depravity of one's own importance, as well as one's own existence. Like you must give up your whole existence, your whole identity, your whole everything, and you could become whatever you want. And there's no downsides to anything you do. Just utter like hedonism in a way. No holds barred.
That's where I think a big societal change needs to happen, because it's like you said, like he went from absolute hell at his home to now you can do whatever you want, and there were no breaks. Like no one tried to come in and slow him down a little bit and be like, hey, you could make a really good impact and you still be who you are.
And it was celebrated too. Like you can't forget that. Like it wasn't just like, oh, we accept you, but it was like the more he ends up doing until the point where he's handed this position of power. And it's like now he's getting on like news articles. He's getting all this praise and like, yes, Queen, do your thing. God, what a brain fudge. Golly, play it. Yeah, let's get it.
What Mike called the gay house, and all the men stood up and were just like clapping. I felt like I'm here. You know what? This is awesome. This is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, there were other parts of the, parade route that you were getting glares, and I'm like, and I'm still walking, still walking. But, at the same moment, I felt okay. I had 30 other people who were around me who, you know what? It's cool to be who you are. It's cool to be who you are, and I was very excited about that. A week and a half, or a few weeks later, it would have been about a week and a half later, I went to San Francisco. That was awesome. It was a little different from Idaho Falls. I had convinced 3 of my friends to go with me. I knew what I was going for. I was going for Pride Weekend because from the little boy from the Midwest, I was never going to be this close to California again. I was going to Pride. It was amazing. I cried, like my poor friends, like were pretty much holding me half the time because I was so excited. I wasn't alone. I mean, it's the same thing that every single time I meet another person, my parents, if they did anything right, they really made it every single gay person a special person to me. I have not met one that I don't almost hug instantaneously because I'm not, you know what? You didn't exist to me before. Like, again, I will never be a person who's alone again. And that's one of the great things about Idaho and the allies and all of these things is that I'm finding, guess what? We're in every state, even, like massive conservative area. I still exist, I don't have to change.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that just, that encompasses the last, 8 years of this country. Of pretty much what reality was for the last 8 years of the country. It's a large group of people. And do I think every single one of them experienced bad things? No. I think that there's a lot. And I think there's just a lot of people that go along with the hurt from others because they feel morally like to just support it. But like, wow. Do you have, is there any other videos or?
That's all I had. People can find them on the internet. I did come across another one for the Trevor Project. I didn't know enough about it to bring that one up.
Well, I mean, that was
But
still
it's probably
shocking.
yeah. I did watch some of that interview. So those of you watching, I'd highly recommend go watch that video. I believe he gets a bit more into detail about the gay conversion therapy itself and how that actually worked, what they actually did to him, aside from the electroshock.
Wow. I mean, yeah, that's like, I really appreciate you bringing that to us. Like, because I didn't know what to expect from it. So I'm genuinely, I'm in a state of like, huh. Like, it makes me think. It makes me think, like, because if all you know of this dude is he's handed a position of power to do something very important. I mean, nuclear waste disposal is kind of just, a tad, when you got stuff that could last 500 years minimum, like, and it's going to destroy any chance of 500 years minimum, and it's going to destroy any chance of anything growing, living, and all this stuff, and poison people for large swaths of area. It's kind of like you see this person walking around with people collared and stuff. You're kind of like, whoa, I don't know if this person's like balanced out. And I don't think he's balanced out, especially after he stole luggage from a girl and then wore her clothes for over a month. But getting to see what the origin story of someone like this is something you don't often get to see on the left. Where did it start? I mean, we always hear the stories of like, the bad things that happen to gay people and trans people and all these bad things. And I mean, I remember, I've known a lot of people of a darker skin coloring throughout my years living in New York, growing up in Brooklyn. And I always ask, like, have you experienced cops doing bad things? Have you experienced this and that? And like most of the people, it's more so of like, yeah, a clerk in a store like eyed me down and watched me like the whole time I was in the store. And me being a metalhead, I used to walk around with spike bracelets, always a bandana or, a hat, like UFO pants. I looked kind of scraggly, and I've been eyed down in stores too. So it's like, it's kind of like what is the reality? But here it is. You have someone, and he just like laid it out exactly. He went through torture, like literally just like torture. Like having electricity forced into your brain is nothing other than while being told, don't be this thing. And then he finds people who are this thing, and they're saying, we love you. You're one of us. We're allies. We've got your back. You'll accept any reality they tell you at that point. Because what do you have to go back to? Where does he have to go? You kicked him out into the tundra, and then there was some warmth. He'll do anything for that warmth. What other option does he have? So then you see him get into a position of power like this, and you start to wonder, like, wow, the corruption from on high, because clearly this is someone who will do anything. Anything. Has been just devoid, just destroyed. His whole soul has been destroyed. Like, wow.
Yeah, I personally just want to give a message to Christians out there. If you call yourself a Christian and you come across somebody who's different from you, be kind. Even if you're worried about their eternal salvation, where they're going after they die, if they're going to heaven or hell, be kind. All right? There's really no excuse for what happened to him. No. At all.
Well, it's not upon the person to be judgment. That's God.
Yes.
God is the judgment. So, like, that's one thing where, I mean, maybe religious people are going to see this and whatnot, but I'm a philosopher. I'm in the practice of philosophy. And in my practice, I would say, if your religion says that God is the judgment and the chooser of where you end up for your eternity, what are you doing? Like, it's one thing to say you want to save somebody, but to torture them?
Would that count as cognitive dissonance?
Oh, that's an absolute cognitive dissonance. And thank you for bringing up those magical words.
We hadn't had that word all podcast.
We didn't say dropping the pens. That's it. I'm dropping my other foam mic head. That's it. That's dropped. I don't know. I don't have anything else I want to risk throwing. Oh, you know what? These glasses dropped. Golly. Yeah, it's a cognitive dissonance. I love that term. Love it. No one said it in the chat on the last video. Say it in the chat if you got this far in the video. Cognitive dissonance down below. Golly. Just saying. But yeah, no, it's a cognitive dissonance. Absolutely.
That's one thing I'm working on with my daughter right now is because she's getting to that age where kids are going to start bullying each other. And I'm like, somebody's if you see somebody bullying somebody or someone starts bullying you, you know, you don't have to associate with them, but you also like, I told her like most of the time people who are bullies are getting bullied. Like there's something going on at home or there's some other kid that you don't know about. Like something's going on to make that person that way. And I'm like, and I always tell her like, just don't assume they're just bad people because they want to be a bad person. You know, you gotta realize people have vastly different lives than you.
I mean, in junior high, my best friend, well, one of my best friends was originally a bully, and I stood up to him, and then we became friends. You know, the dude
That happened
like,
to me
the
in
life
7th
he lived
grade.
at home
Yeah.
was bad. Yeah.
Or well, actually, it wasn't me. Well, in 7th grade, I had one guy bullying me. I was the smallest kid in the class, so I felt really intimidated to try and stand up to him. So I talked to my guidance counselor, and all she did was have a talk. I have no idea what she told him. The very next day, we're like best friends. Like, I mean, we weren't like besties. Like, we didn't hang out much outside of school, but every time when we had classes where we that we shared, we would talk and have fun and laugh. It was like night and day.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's always another option as well. Like if sometimes it can be hard to stand up to bullies if you're the smaller kid.
And two, I mean,
really, don't be afraid to use somebody else's authority to help intervene with that.
But also too, like I think that the whole topic of bullying, I do think people keep on bringing up the topic of bullying to make sure that bullying stays a thing. Because, I mean, in my experience growing up, like, was that guy a bully? Yeah, but what was his bullying? He used to push me and talk crap. That was about it. It wasn't really about anything about me other than the fact that, like, maybe I was shorter than him. He was, like, at that time, he was probably, like, 5'11". In, like, junior high, he was a tall guy. And I was, like, maybe 5'1", you know? And I'm only, like, 5'5" right now anyway. I'm a guy at the end of the day, I'm not a tall guy. So, like, really, like... was that bullying? I don't know. I mean, it was a guy talking crap. So it's like I do think a lot of people say bullying exists and stuff. I don't think it's not like it is in the movies where you got someone hounding you every day on stuff. It's just someone who talks crap, and you don't talk crap back to them. Because he became my friend after I stopped it. I was like, enough. I pushed him. And I was like, this is what's going to happen to you if you keep trying this stuff. Like, I'm done. And then we became friends. You know? So I don't know. It's like, does bullying exist, or is there a lot of spineless people who just never learn to push back? Or take the risk by pushing back? That, like, yes, you might stand up to this bully, and he might hit you. And if you show him you're willing to get hit, he might stop. Because, you know, like, he doesn't want to deal with you every day. So does the bullying stop? So it's like, I don't know. What is the real existence of bullying? I don't know. But, like, yeah. What that guy went through was torture.
I'd say,
sorry, I'm not over that yet.
I'd say, like, I don't think just stop calling it bullying would fix anything. Like, I think it's more of kids who don't know how to adjust to situations that they're put through and it affects them, and kids who don't want to be, a lot of kids don't stand up for themselves anymore.
So, so would you say that kids should do as the bullies do and start bullying back? Is that the only way to even it out?
No. Well, so if someone kept picking on my daughter and pushing her around and stuff like that, and she did the same thing, I'd be like, that's exactly what yes, I think you should stand up for yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, this situation is a little bit different, but almost had him.
Yeah, no.
If he somebody... was like, no, I was like, oh.
No. Somebody hits one of my kids and they hit him back and be like, good job. You did. You, I mean, you
that's what my mom told me. Like when I was smaller, and I was at least comparable to the other kids. My mom told me like to just hit back, and that got me through at least up to middle school.
Well, my brother said the same thing.
Yeah, and then in high school, I had a couple people who tried to bully me, but I just pretty much ignored them mostly because I'm like, I basically realized like either something's wrong with you at home or you're just stupid, and I'm just I'm not gonna deal with you. That pretty much solved most of it.
I wonder,
It
though,
actually
there's
became
something
quite
we're
popular.
overlooking, though. We all kind of grew up in the 90s era, I would say, or tertiary to the 90s, which was a very different time period
That's true.
of, like, acceptance than what exists now. So maybe, because I'm guessing, well, no, this guy, you know, Sam, he's around your age then, I'm guessing, right?
No, he's younger. I am pretty sure he is younger.
Okay.
He's
So,
at least
yeah,
gotta
so
be in his
maybe things
30s
have
though,
changed.
right?
I think he's lower 30s. So not
Okay.
that much younger. So I would say that he. Let's see. Well, no, hold on. That was in 2009, 2008. 2009. This is 13 years ago. Was this interview? He had already graduated college, so I guess he is about our age.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know
Well,
why I thought he was younger. Well, I mean, because he's Matt Gaiman. He just ages well.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
34 or 35. So my question is, okay, the pendulum has swung to both ends. When does the maturation come in? Or does it come in?
Oh, of course.
Or does it just swing back and forth perpetually for all eternity?
Well, so I personally believe that people who go through serious trauma as a kid, I think psychologically, as far as psychological development, they're way behind kids who didn't go through a lot of psychological trauma and had good role models. So I feel like he should definitely be at an age where he's either this is going to be who he is for the rest of his life, the flamboyant out in your face. He doesn't care what anyone else thinks, or he's going to start slowing down and be like, okay, maybe I push it a little bit too far sometimes.
Well, I mean, I think it's more so of those flamboyant things he's doing. Is he doing it because that's just what he enjoys, or is he doing it to try and push an agenda?
I think it's both. He obviously like, because to me he's bringing sexual desire into the public eye.
Yeah, but everyone's done that. I mean, commercials have done that since what, the 50s, since TVs existed.
Yeah, but not kinks.
Everything is a kink when it comes down to sex.
Yeah, but you don't see commercials for Trojan with some dude dressed up in a furry costume and.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Trojan has had some crazy commercials over the years.
Well,
you know, I mean, even a car commercial, it's selling you sex. It's selling you this sexy car going down that road, like getting over the water, like just like going ham on some cliffs. You know, all commercials are sex. It's either sex or fear. That's all they're trying to sell you when it comes down to commercials.
I don't know. I think commercials like that are more about appeal and status than anything sexual.
It's sexual appeal.
I would argue that is sexual in nature.
Yeah, status is sexual.
Yeah,
you need status because you want to get a mate.
There's a difference between something being attractive and something throwing their personal preferences in your face.
I see what you're saying when it comes down to maybe fringe types of niches of sex, but sex is sex. It's like saying, not always. I mean, when it comes down to certain things like, you know, the younger people of the world, like, yes, no, sex is not sex. But when it comes down to if you want to put a collar on someone in some latex and have them walk around and go woof woof, I ain't stopping you. Have at it. Just, you know, I honestly, I would take a look at it and just laugh. It's kind of like what is it, Clerks 2, when they talk about like the you know, the show with the thing. It's like it's shock value. The two girls, one sharing a water glass video from back in the day. I mean, the video itself wasn't viral. The videos of people watching the video was viral. You know, because it's the shock value. So it's like, yeah, have at it. I don't mind. Like, you're kind of in a way showing the world. For me, I don't mind. I mean, I do believe in freedom. I don't think we need to keep everything a safe space. But the question is he doing really bad things in government? And it kind of sounds like he is.
He's definitely abusing his authority.
Yeah. So it's like to see the absolute just the degradation.
I heard that he's been let go though, so I don't think he has that authority anymore. they've pretty much.
Oh,
tested.
nice. Well, I mean,
I might be wrong on that.
gotta
Somebody-
draw the line
you know-
somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, chat fact check me on that. I thought I saw the headline, but I did not read the article that he did get fired.
Well, I mean, they have to draw the line at stealing luggage in the very least. You
would
shouldn't be
hope so.
in charge of our nuclear garbage and stealing luggage. Or else, who knows? Maybe he's taking some of that nuclear stuff home, trying to turn himself into the Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Yeah, you know,
They Hulk.
that would be Z.
Yeah. You're right. It's them Hulk.
Them Hulk, yeah. The People's Hulk. Golly. Yeah, I don't know. That guy's crazy. Sadly.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the stuff he flaunts I think it's way more deviant than, because I'd rather my kids see a car commercial than pictures of what he likes to throw out in the public.
I mean, I can't watch Nissan commercials because it has that chick from, was it Captain Marvel in it? What's her name? Brie Larson.
She has
So
beautiful
I will not
feet,
buy
and
a
chat,
Nissan.
Chat, go to WikiFeet and look up Brie Larson. You will be super happy. I have just made your day. And if you don't think so, then let me know.
And just have a garbage pail available when you go do that.
Because it's going to be buckets of stuff coming out of you.
And then go look up Megan Fox's feet. Or whatever her name is. Jessica Fox?
No, Megan Fox's thumb.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Just look her up. Golly. Look past the face and the boobs and the ass, okay? Look past it.
The Kardashians' feet are pretty messed up, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, not surprising. I mean, the hands and the feet are the first thing that goes on girls. It's always you always look at the hands and the feet, and you'll get to know like where things are at there.
Yeah, no. I can look over Megan Fox's wonky thumb. I think I'm pretty safe in saying that.
I don't think she's really that hot. I don't know. I don't know.
I usually like dark.
I mean, I can understand like definition wise, like okay, I can understand the proportions and everything like come out to something hot, but I don't know. I don't think she's that hot. But then I guess for me, it's more of a mental thing. Like for me to really consider a girl necessarily hot, I gotta kind of know where they are mentally. I guess I've experienced too many crazies, especially on dating apps back when I used to be on them. It's like, you know, you start to be less attractive to how hot they look. You know, like naturally start to become more attractive. Like, whoa, let me get to know this person a little bit first because I've experienced some stuff, man. I've been down in the dredges of golly.
So let's see. So, all right, we have a decision to make. We are at almost 3 hours.
So, is this 3 hours? Wow.
Yeah, we started at 5:30.
2:41. 2 hours 41. So
we started at 5. I thought we started at 6:30.
No.
Oh, he's Central Time.
Oh,
he's
right.
Central
Sorry.
Time.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you started at 6:30 your time. Sorry, I always forget that.
Do we want to do? I don't know. I feel like the Twitter stuff. It would be a lot. I don't know. For me, Twitter, it's nothing we didn't already know.
Yeah.
Like
it's true.
Taibbi, Elon let Taibbi exploit this, which I'm super happy about because I think Matt Taibbi is one of the few good journalists left. But it's mostly all it did was prove what everyone already suspected.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have too much to add.
Yeah, I think the only value that we're getting out of this is the copium coming out of the left.
I think
is there any value to that? I mean,
if you find it entertaining at all, that's all I mean.
I think.
I mean, if we,
I'm not saying that there's any real world value to it. It's just if you like to watch leftist cope on Twitter, that's pretty much all you're getting out of it.
Well, that's why I say like if we don't see Vijaya Gade or anyone in jail, I mean it's more of proving my point of the left doesn't befall the same outcomes that the non-left does. I mean, really look at that. I mean, you have email proof of something that happened. And granted, it's only been a day, but Me personally, I guess even more so why it's like kind of like, is there any worth of talking about this right now? Is kind of like, I don't have high hopes that we're going to see anything come of it.
The only thing I can hope to come out of it is that it actually gets 230 reform going. Because it proves that Twitter actively stepped in with the government to edit and publish what people saw and determine what was factual or misinformation or not. But
yeah, but
even
then do we need 230 reform, or do we need that 230 should be followed? I think that 230 is already fine. It's a matter we don't follow it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have protections against being sued so that people could talk on their platform and say whatever they want without Twitter being sued for what, Joe Schmo says. Within reason, as long as Joe Schmo is not, calling acts of violence upon someone like legitimately and the other few free speech things that have already been tested up to the Supreme Court and everything. But aside from that, it's just a matter of like, look, clearly they're not abiding by the 230 protections that they have, and becoming they're becoming an editor. They're becoming editorial. So it's a matter of that. It worries me when people say we need 230 reform, because I don't think we need 230 reform. We just need to follow the law.
Yeah, I thought there was one part that was wonky about it, but I'll have to go back and look at it. But yeah,
it is
right.
vague.
Like, following it would be the better solution, and actually holding companies accountable for it, like they're doing in Florida.
Well, I mean, you gotta remember, if we reform 230 and we get rid of that protection, then no new platform will ever be able to be created that can afford to be created. I mean, instantly Rumble that very night would have closed doors. They're going to get sued into the ground, especially Rumble, with people talking so openly and freely there. Smash the plusy if you're on it and hit subscribe. So it's really like you can't reform it, because then it's just a help to the establishment. Because Alphabet can afford the court cases. And then court cases will be made where precedents will, like, 230 will eventually, remake itself again. But it'll remake it through the courts. So Google's going to get sued and sued and sued. And then the court cases that come from that will create precedents where now Google can't be sued. And now you don't even have 230 to protect the small companies that'll be coming up, like the Rumbles and the Gabs and stuff, because you've reformed 230. So it'll only help the alphabets.
One thing that I do think should be changed is that if a platform doesn't protect its users, like somebody's doxing or making threats, then they should definitely be able to be sued after that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if they're complicit in attack upon you. But I yet again, I think that it's only one side of the fence that'll ever happen for. I mean, how many times has Tim Pool been, doxxed on Twitter, had his address put out on Twitter? I mean, you could probably search right now and find. I'm not saying that that's something you should do, anyone watching, but I'm just saying that maybe that there's a likelihood that could be plausible to do right now. Yeah. And that's even right now. So, like, yeah, it's like out of the Matt Taibbi thing, it's like, wow, like it was that. We're living in the day and age where instead of people watching a TV screen or, watching any form of entertainment, there was probably hundreds of thousands of people, I'd say, in the very least, maybe, 100,000, that were glued to refreshing a notification tab just to read a new tweet, which in turn was like, oh, wait, let's wait 7 minutes before the next part of this happens, when everybody and their mother that has used Twitter knows that there's a plus freaking sign at the bottom of the screen to add another tweet onto your tweet, and you can make an entire thread and post it all at one time. Just saying, maybe if you're going to do this thing that's going to go out to like 100,000 people on the minimum, let's say on averages of guessing, maybe you do it all at once. Just saying, Matt Taibbi. Just saying. Friggin', that was so annoying.
Yeah,
I had to put notifications on. Yeah, I hit the bell button for Matt Taibbi and Elon Musk yesterday just so I could keep up to date on freaking what's happening. And then, like, as I'm doing this, all right, so this is my night last night. As I'm doing this, I have their notifications on, so I could go to the Twitter tab and see all the tweets of all the people who I have the bell notification on for. So I could just refresh that tab and see, you know, the people I want to see. So a part of the list of people that I follow in that way, I mean, you've got Chrissy Mayer, you've got, you know, Leanne Starr's on there, Carrie Smith, Mike Harlow, all great people. Frank, he's on there. You know, so these are like Chrissy Mayer's boobs is on there. A lot of people are on there. The boobs have to be on there though, because the boobs are great. Well, boobs are hilarious. But so, like, I have this serious tweet here, you know, Matt Taibbi saying stuff, and all of a sudden I hit refresh, and here's Leanne Starr, just, you know, flaming the libs in a video form that she's retweeted now for, like, the 4th time, because every day she retweets all of her older tweets, you know, and it's all like, you know, like, I don't know. The left, I mean, do you really want to do this? And here's, like, serious tweet, now all of a sudden hilarious Leanne Starr. And then here refresh, serious tweet, here refresh, Leanne Starr again. Like, so it was like I was having intermissions of these tweets of Leanne Starr videos popping up in my feed. And it was like, what is this world? This is just surreal. Like, girl, like, you know, a really hot, beautiful girl who has a great mind up there, just saying these like really deep, like kind of just sarcastic kind of just burns of like crazy realities, and then actual reality of like, hey, this whole business and this whole organization joined together with a political party to suppress their competing party. But oh wait, we're also going to quickly mention that, oh yeah, your political party also joined in on doing these same exact things, but we're going to overlook that at the same time. Because, you know, oh, fudge. I think we've just proven Flagrant right.
Uh-oh.
We have a cognitive dissonance here. Flagrant has a point. Trump also called for the banning of people on Twitter, and Twitter did abide by his asks of banning. So, Trump played the same game as the left and got away with it. For now, Flagrant. For now. We'll see how that ends up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if something like that did go through and then the left tried to sue the right over it, like, there's too many establishment people on the right who would be like, no, we're not, that you can't do that, or we're going to go after your side too. I think that's the only thing that would prevent total one-sidedness in the courts from happening like that.
Well, I too wonder, though, like, how many people did Trump ask to be banned, and for what reasons? Like, I think if you actually look into the who and the why on the Trump side of things, it's probably for more legitimate reasons to the who and the why of Trump's side. Yeah, whereas you look at the left, it's like, you know, the posts that were kind of linked, some of those posts were like videos on a laptop that some might not want to get out, you know, and certain things like that are kind of like, well, you can't suppress that. You know,
they were even like,
so
can we really make is this going to hold up policy wise? Like, they were literally asking that.
Yeah. I mean, it's what he uncovered. I mean, the truth of it, the foundation of it, what he uncovered is monumental. I mean, it is absolute conspiracy. You know, like, and not just on a company level, but a governmental level as well. You know, there's absolute conspiracy there to manipulate something, a thing that happens once every 2 years. You know,
that was the most secure thing to happen.
Like,
which was the most secure thing to happen ever.
But again, it's just like everyone who's paid attention will be like, yeah, and now is anything going to happen? Like that's where I'm at.
Well, I think I think the mise en place of doing a tweet every 7 minutes was also a hindrance to it. I mean, if he did the whole thing as one gigantic like tweet thread at once, it would have picked up more speed. You know, whereas you take like an hour to do 35 tweets, he should have wrote it all up like, you know, beforehand, had it all ready to go and hit tweet all. That should have been how it was done. You know, because then too, even while he was doing the tweets, Twitter started failing because their servers are getting hammered, and especially his tweet threads getting hammered on the server side. And it got to the point where he had to stop even numbering tweets and doing tweets as separate tweets from his tweet thread because they weren't even loading with the thread. So it was like, experience-wise, that hindered it, I think, a lot. I you know, when you're thinking about it, you have to look at it as a show. And when you're looking at it as a show, timing is so important. And that timing in that show was bland.
It was sloppy for sure.
Yeah. Plus, too, I mean, when you have the entertainment structure, too, like, I mean, it's not like Tim could sit there and just read through the 35 tweets when you're like, he's trying to do a podcast and it's like, oh, 10 minutes later, oh, we got another tweet. I remember I was listening on my phone, and yes, cover your cameras, people. But I was listening on my phone to a Twitter Spaces, and it had like E. Miles Chong, I think, was there, and there was like a whole people. I don't even know who most of them were. All I saw was Ariadna Jacob linked it, so I was like, I'll give it a listen. And they were at least up to date on when a tweet was made. They'd be like, oh, number 12 is out now, and they'd read it, and then they were talking about it and everything. So I found that the most enthralling way to keep up to date on it and listen to it, and I was able to just leave it on my phone off to the side while I was editing Content House, which could be great. It's gonna be great. I hope people enjoy it. I really do. I put so much work into it. But that's an aside. Golly, I just hope I hope Chrissy and Frank enjoy it. I don't know. It's got a little bit more to go, but I hope people enjoy. But like, yeah, like that was just timing. But yeah, I think you're spot on where it's kind of just like, meh.
Yeah, I mean, again, people who paid attention, they already knew because they were pretty open about it. It was pretty obvious. So for me right now, the Twitter thing is just a big nothing burger until something actually happens legally.
I wonder too, though. I mean, recently though, it has been okay to bring up the laptop and talk about the laptop. I mean, even here right now, I knock on wood, I don't think that the video will get taken down for the talk of a laptop anymore. You know, it has become like kind of accepted and even mentioned by left-wing media that this thing does exist. It is real. So it's like, you do have that, but at the same time on social media, it's just been so long since a truth like that was allowed to just stay and exist. So maybe it is a nice first step. But as per my prediction would depict, I think what's coming is that free speech is going to start to scare a lot of people, and it's going to start to have to force them to ask themselves a lot of deep questions of what free speech really is.
And honestly, it should just be all free speech because Ian was talking about like how you're allowed to hate people. It might not be right, it might not be moral, it might not be ethical, but it's not illegal. And there's always going to be somebody you're going to have animosity toward. But speech is not, unless you're directly threatening someone or threatening a group of people or exposing very serious private information, like, sorry, you should hear what people say, whether you like it or not, because then you can get a better judgment on what kind of person that person is.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that there's always been this button that's existed on all social media platforms. It's called block. If you don't like what you're reading, block them or mute them, whatever you have to do. You don't have to listen to people you don't care to listen to if you don't want. There's literally no reason to be banning people for the reasons that they've been banning or shadow banning or whatever else they've been doing for years now. There's just no reason for it.
Well, too, I mean, you have to also remember, I don't think that necessarily the reality that's been depicted on social medias over the last, ever since they've existed, is necessarily a true reality.
Yes, people, Twitter is not real life. Go out and touch grass, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is so hard to tell the difference between a bot and a real human. I mean, Google AI already exists that can schedule appointments for you and then change those appointments for you. And the person on the other side of that phone probably not going to know. And they've had that capability since what? I think that that video of when they first did the phone call with the AI to set the appointment, I think was in like 2009. I want to say it was somewhere around the GFC where that first came about. That was like, hey, we have this AI we're working on. I mean, it was early stage AI that they were working on, but it was able to make an appointment. And it was a long time ago. So if people think that there is no AI AI that exists that can make imagery, oh, guess what? It already exists. That can make imagery. There's already an AI that exists that can make an entire human being that doesn't exist on the planet, and it looks real. It looks like an actual person. There's an AI that exists that could do this, and then make multiple pictures of this person doing many different things. Yes, is it sometimes wonky? Sure. Is it perfect? No. But it's enough to be able to give you a few pictures, give you a Twitter profile, upper echelon. If you go watch his video, it was just 2 weeks ago. He showed about how you could get bot accounts on Twitter, on other things, and then utilize them to make posts and automate a whole bunch of things. So the reality of Twitter is, I would gather to say, a mass majority of the replies you'll get, the likes you'll get, the retweets you'll get, the engagement in general
follows
it's not real. Not real. You know, I mean, the amount of accounts that I see that are made in November of 2022. I mean, I have a thread on my Twitter. If you go to my Twitter, you got to scroll down a ways because I haven't kept up with it. But literally on my phone, if I opened up the image tab, I'm sure, let's see. Oh, I've got Pokemon Go still open. But on the Turlet, I like to play Pokemon Go. I'm just saying, people. But yeah, so if I go here, fudge, I've got like pictures of like Mike Harlow's nipples because I made a funny picture from his account. But like literally, like if I go here, there's like just bot. I took. You can't freaking see it. You can't see it anyway. But I'm taking screenshots of all the bot accounts that link to me every day. They tag me in tweets. Multiple accounts tag me in tweets. Check out this new NFT sale. There's this listing NFT sale. Sign up for this NFT sale. Because back in the day, I posted about being in the crypto community. I was in different metaverses. Certain things. And every day, like at least 4 tweets I'm linked in every day. And you go to the accounts, they have profile pictures, they have banners, they have whole descriptions, they have everything. And they're not all necessarily new. Some of these accounts doing this are from like 2012, 2013, like they're old accounts. And then you get upper echelon showing you that like when an account is a dead account, so let's say it's like a famous person or whatnot, they have an account, it gets hacked. And then the hackers change everything about, they could change the name, they could change the pictures, they could change everything. So you no longer know that this was, like ex-football star's account that had 100,000 followers. But now the botters have this account, and now they could bot out everything to these 100,000. And then they can utilize these profiles to make them look real, make normal posts. I mean, that's how people used to hack through AdSense. They'd make an AdSense account, make legitimate advertisements for the span of like a few months, like doing legitimate, like actual, like what an advertisement for Best Buy would look like, and have it linked to like the actual website, not necessarily Best Buy. And then, 3 months later, 4 months later, now they put in the infected ad, and now it's linking to a website where they can, try and install crazy things on your computer and get into your computer,
Or steal your information.
Exactly. So it's like the reality of it, there is no reality. So it's like, I don't know what's real anymore in all realities. So yeah, the Twitter thing, it's like, what's real? How many people saw it? How many people actually liked it? How many people actually retweeted it? Did anyone see it? How do we know? How do we know anything? What is real, anybody? Let us know in the comments. What is freaking real? Golly, 3 hours, you know what's real? We were here for 3 hours, and we talked for 3 hours. And if you didn't click like, if you didn't leave a comment yet, if you didn't join the conversation, if you didn't share this out, even if you feel like you have no followers on Twitter, even if you feel all the followers you have on Twitter are bots because there is no reality, share it on Twitter, share it on everything, okay? Share it everywhere. That's the only way this could grow. If you want to see this community grow, if you want to be a part of it, you have to be a part of it. It's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. So really, thank everybody. Also, I just because I figure we're wrapping up, I'll just say my goodbye because Crash has got to be the last word this week because this was Crash's week. He didn't just come here with a great intro and going to come here with a great ending. He also came here with the freaking the deets that really opened up my eyes. Like, And then he sided with me on the greatest debate against Flagrant this week. Sided with moi, just saying. But really, though, thank you everyone who commented last week. I enjoyed the chats with you guys. I'm looking forward to this week. Hopefully, I get to see you again in the chats. I want to chat with you some more. Even though, most of the people I feel agreed with the whole Adam stuff in the chat so far. Even if you're just saying hi and telling us to, keep it going. One person, I think, was Chris, who said keep it going. Where are you? Don't give up. Nasty Pig won't give up, Nasty Pig. You're a nasty pig, and we're going to stay in the trough, okay? Hang out with us. All right, though. Thank you, everybody. Follow me on Twitter, Fealty Thoughts. Links down below. All my links are down below. Flagrant nicely puts the stuff in the description. Even though I don't get why he keeps both the versions of the Welcome to the Draw thing. But hey, keep it going. No downsides there. But really appreciate you all. And thank you to Flagrant and Crash. Really enjoyed this episode. I really did. I honestly, this is the third episode, and I'm really enjoying chatting with you guys, hanging out with you guys. It's been a lot of fun, even though my mic goes in and out sometimes. What can you do? But really, I do mean this. I'm really genuinely enjoying this, and I look forward to it through the week. I'm like, I can't wait for the next one. But all right, though. I'll let you guys talk now.
All right. Flagrant, go ahead. Where can people find you? Talk about your t-shirts.
Guys. T-shirts like this awesome one by the fabulous Chrissy Mayer, rooting for Putin, because he's doing some stuff, I guess. But Flagrant Triggers.com.
Just a little hobby project.
Yeah, we'll have some changes coming pretty soon to the merch, because I'm talking with the shop I work with, and we're gonna start doing a different format as far as the printing. Or the making the shirts and the design's going to be a lot more sturdy. Your shirt's actually going to fade away before the design does. But
wow,
still, I'm waiting to hear about the jacket. So hopefully we'll get some news on that going before too long.
And didn't you just add the Chrissy Christmas shirt?
Yep, you can get your Merry Christmas shirt on FlagrantTriggers.com under her collection page. Very festive. She looks super happy. And bringing all the holiday joy to that photo shoot. But yeah, you can get her merch. You can get X-Ray Girls merch. Lila's got some stuff on there. I got a gun company out in Nevada out there. I got my stuff, and the Libertarian Party down in Okaloosa County. That there it is. There it is. You can get that at FlagrantTriggers.com. Flagrant Trigger on Twitter at Flagrant Trigger, no S, not Flagrant Triggers, Trigger, and Instagram, Facebook.
What you talking about? The triggers?
Yeah.
He's talking about them triggers.
But yeah, it's definitely been fun. Like I like the back and forth because sometimes you have to hear multiple sides of an argument to, you'll either glean some stuff from it or you'll learn some stuff from it. So.
It is fun. You guys are master debaters to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate the compliment, Fealty.
Even without the DE, right. I'm pretty good at that. Yeah.
All right.
That confirms he is not a Democrat. He's not a DE-macrat.
Confirm. All right. Follow me on Twitter, Mondo JR. And again, I have enjoyed this. I always enjoy this. Guys, if you enjoyed this, do not have cognitive dissonance, hit that like button. Hit that Rumble Plussy. Subscribe. If you made it this far, 3 hours in, and you haven't done that yet, that is cognitive dissonance. Don't diss yourself like that. And again, I just want to extend that message. Be kind to one another. You never know what somebody else is going through. I think if anything is going to stop the pendulum from swinging so far and maybe bring some sanity back in the world, I believe it would be kind. And I will end on that.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.